successors according to law. So help me God.
It's happened before, but it is nonetheless still rather extraordinary that somebody who was only elected or officially sworn in as an MP less than 24 hours ago, in 3 weeks' time, is going to be running the country.
Yes, I think it is rather extraordinary. I think the issue isn't whether someone like that should automatically have to hold a general election. If Andy Burnham wants to introduce major changes to our constitution, he's talked about overhauling the House of Lords. He's also talked about overhauling our electoral system, bringing in some form of PR. I think if he wants to do any of those things, he needs a mandate from the public to do them. To try and do them without calling an election, I think, would be a constitutional outrage.
I've got an interesting tweet. There's always a tweet, Julia.
Yep.
If I can just read this out to you from Andy Burnham 3 years ago. We need to start demanding a general election at the end of this Tory leadership election. Well, well, well. That was Andy Burnham actually 4 years ago in 2022. So we're saying stick by your word, be consistent, Andy, and when you're Prime Minister, call a general election.
The battle is really on, though, for number 11. Who's going to be the Chancellor? Ed Miliband, don't forget, has played an integral key role in this coup, and it is a coup because no one apart from 25,000 good people of Makerfield have voted for this guy. Yeah. So he's played a pretty integral role in undermining Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer and Ed Miliband aren't really speaking. He can want a big reward. But, he is, probably the most left-wing person in the government, and he will spook the markets.
Lou Hay, I mean, the reality is, look, she served her time. She was cast out of government. The reality is, as you said, she has been central to his campaign. She was central to his campaign in Makerfield. More broadly, she's been central to his campaign to enter Downing Street. He owes her, and she will definitely get a role. I'm not.
What do you say to the people that have texted me in their droves this morning? This is a really corny sentence, but it's true. That lawbreakers can't be lawmakers, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, but the reality is she's going to get a job. So the answer is yes, they can.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It's the home of common sense. They've just passed me a birthday card. I don't want to talk about it. 0344 409 1000. Text to 87222. It is Tuesday, and I have to tell you, the day after England's great victory. So much to talk about the show this morning. I'm not talking about age. 0344 409 1000 is the telephone number. Damien G-Spot is back on breakfast. We found him. And he's back. He'll take your calls with love. The same. It's my present. Right, OK, excuse me. It's obviously... double O old, licence to grumble. Look at that. I mean, honestly, that's very kind of you. Do I grumble? Do I? Do you think... Matt Vickers is here. Do I grumble?
It's more of a whine than a grumble, I think.
Wow. Licence to grumble. To Jezza, happy birthday from the A-Team. We hate you, you miserable git. No, very nice words. Christian, have a great day. With us, says Christian. Happy birthday, JK. Keep winning, says Mark. Nice, good. Fantastic. Well, listen, you're very kind. I don't want to talk... Listen, I came in this morning and... listen, this is what I've been met with. We might as well cut straight to it, right? This is what Christian hands me. On page 3, Matt, before we get to the news of the Daily Mail, who says you passed your peak? Your brains peak between 55 and 60... and then it's all downhill. Which means... Why are you laughing? Which means I'm on the way out.
Happy birthday, Jezza. It's not every year you have a big birthday.
61, though. Tell me I don't look 61. It's ridiculous, man.
Though the lady who does the makeup in here is exceptionally good. You look nowhere near 61.
The Tories have got a spring in their step and their hats at a jaunty angle. Listen, so much to talk about this morning. Good morning to you, all the alarm clock Brits who have made this show what it is over the last few months. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in today. So, as I said, on a serious note, G-Spot's back. We want to get that first voice note into Christian. Same number, 0344 499 1000, and your text messages are always welcome, 87222. I don't know, Matty, to be honest, there's so much in the news. Prince Harry, of course, landing back on UK soil last night, but not staying at Buckingham Palace after that sort of chaotic, shambolic nightmare that seems to be anything to do with the Sussex camp. There was apparently a communications breakdown between the palace and the Montecito mob. And apparently, I mean, The Sun is reporting this, front page this morning, King snaps at Harry. I mean, whatever anybody thinks, I mean, he just misses the point, doesn't he? I'd love to know your thoughts. We're going to talk in great detail. And in other royal news, this is brilliant. Pizza Express in Woking, I'm going to Woking later, have decided they found no evidence that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor visited the restaurant after his infamous claim on Newsnight about sweating. What a dough ball, somebody's written. Very good. Well, I've got script writers. What a dough ball. 0344 499 1000. Nigel Farage, let us see if you've seen the clip on Sky, insists he's done nothing wrong as he's referred to the Parliamentary Standards Commission for the second time, this time about the Posh George scandal. Nigel gave both barrels to a Sky News reporter as he flew back from the US. We asked again yesterday, we talked about it. Poppy Coburn, I thought, nailed it very well. Does this affect what you think about reform? We'll talk about that. And also, who can forget Donald Trump and the American Football World Cup fiasco? Apparently, he phoned the head of FIFA, Infantino, and the man who'd been given a red card, who was the striker for America, was then allowed to play. Cue uproar, but they lost anyway. And also, this is interesting for Matt, Kemi Badenoch yesterday saying the Tories are very sorry for their record in immigration and insist the numbers are coming down because of their policies. Do you forgive them? Good morning, Matthew Vickers.
Good morning.
I didn't do this for you yesterday because you where'd you watch the match?
I watched it in the Albert in Victoria.
So you were up? Were you up all night?
I was. It was when they put it back an hour. I was like, oh.
So what did you do? You went to the pub at 2 a.m.
Yeah, and then I went to work yesterday and carried on.
How many pints do you have?
That would be telling.
If England make it to the semi-finals, this dreadful duo are going to be in some pub on Wednesday night because I'm staying up. We're going to go, aren't we?
Sesh to be had.
Sesh to be had.
Definitely.
Politically, let's start with Farage. Have you got that Poppy Coburn clip from yesterday, guys? I'd quite like to play this. We're going to dig this out. I know the Tories have a view. Everybody seems to have a view. We'll start with yesterday. There was the initial accusation about the 5 million from Christopher Harbour, which hasn't gone away. And I do try, genuinely, hand on heart. We have the Tories on every day, you know that, and you're good enough to come on. Poppy Coburn was doing the papers, and this was her take on what's happening, and I'd love your response. Take it away, Pops.
Let's not forget, this Labour government began with Lord Ali's donation scandal, where a man who was donating directly to politically affected officials was allowed to pick the selection of Labour MPs who had great influence over the direction of the party. So he literally paid, I'm sorry, it seems like it, he paid and then he got influence. So let's put that on the table. Leaving aside even the Peter Mandelson job, where, again, another seriously unsavoury individual who actually had great political influence and was best friends with a paedophile. So there's Labour. They are turning around and now saying, Nigel Farage, look at him, look how dirty he is, look how dirty his party is. This is someone who's given up 25 years of his life to fight against the establishment, who has got more death threats than any other politician. You don't hear that in the news, seriously. If he has taken this money before he was an MP from someone where there is no suggestion whatsoever that he's changed his opinion, OK, Nigel Farage has been completely consistent politically
for 25 years.
For 25 years, as long as I've been alive. He's known this person, a friend of his, for a very long time. This is not cash for questions, this is not cash for access, OK? This is someone basically saying, you're a friend and I need to support you because the state isn't stepping in and you're getting death threats. He can do with that money as he pleases, frankly. All of the stories that the Times is breaking as exclusive this weekend and the BBC is running on as exclusive breaking news is already out there. We've known this for years. Why is it coming up now? Why is it being repackaged now as breaking news?
I wanted to ask you your response, but before I do that, that was the first situation. Then there was the accusation over the weekend about George Cottrell, a friend of his who'd been also providing him with support and money. Yesterday afternoon, we discovered that Nigel Farage has been put in front of the Standards Committee for the second time. This could, in essence, Matty, lead to a recall by-election in Clacton in his seat. I don't know whether that will happen. Nigel Farage flew back from America yesterday afternoon and took aim at Sky. Have a watch.
Was it a mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir?
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Mistake not to declare the gifts, sir.
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
What's your response, Matty? What's your view of the whole thing?
I think it's interesting by Popper there, talking about Lord Ali, glasses for passes. You know, I mean, Stammer was walking around in a suit that had been bought from him. He was walking around in glasses that had been... With
staying in his 20 million apartment in Covent Garden.
Around in a dress that he'd bought, staying in his apartment. But the reason he got into trouble with that is because it was declared, because people have to declare these things. I think it is right that MPs have to declare who they've got what from, because then if they do go down and lobby for something, I mean, there's all the suggestion that Farage's position on cryptocurrency could be influenced by a man who's very much invested in cryptocurrency and gave him 5 million quid. Do you know, that is a thing. There should be transparency. People should declare it. The rules are there for a reason. Farage could have just declared this if he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And equally, he could now sit down and just take those interviews with the media, have that discussion, get it out there and put it to bed. That's what I think he should be doing, if there's nothing to hide. At the same time, there is a reason for those rules. If every politician goes around taking cash, taking all sorts of hospitality, doesn't declare it, and then is bound by those... that stinks. That can't be allowed to happen. There needs to be rules. People need to declare what they've had so that it can well... transparency can sort the problem
yesterday,
out. Right that it happens.
You'll understand this, and you've weathered a storm on this show over the last few months with people saying the Tories this, the Tories that, and you've always turned up, and that's important. It's important to look at all sides. One thing I know for sure is whether it is a hit job by the establishment and the left-wing media, whether it's a bunch of politicians like yourself saying, quite rightly in your mind, hold on, there are rules, so if you've nothing to hide, why haven't you done that? Whatever the makeup of this has become the main news story. Now, I just want to look at all angles. Somebody on some... I think it was on this station, I don't know whose show it was yesterday, said... Is this... I mean, if you looked at BBC Question Time, the last set of interviews before the Makerfield by-election, and Andy Burnham won the seat. That looked to me like the biggest stitch-up by the BBC, pro-Labour, completely set up to blow smoke where the sun don't shine for Andy Burnham. Somebody said yesterday, is this a concerted effort by Burnham and all of Burnham's cliquey friends in the media, hear me out, to disparage, dissuade, whatever happens to Nigel Farage and reform, because Burnham might well be calling a quick general election? Where does it leave the Tories? For example, I heard yesterday as well that the Tories are going to go all out in Clacton if Nigel Farage is forced to fight that by-election. Personally, tell me what you think, I think he'd increase his majority in Clacton, I really do, sorry.
Well, did you see Annunciata Rees-Mogg made an alternative suggestion yesterday?
What did she say?
The reason that some of these stories might be floating around might be coming from a source closer to home, and that there are people out there who might well think that they should be the leader of reform. We've seen all the difficulties that they have internally, knocking 10 bells out of each other. That's a suggestion, that's a theory. I think at the end of the day, transparency in politics is required. We cannot have politicians being bought by somebody. We remember all the cash for questions and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
That's why these rules were put in place. It's right that they're in place. It's right that people have to comply with them, and there needs to be consequences if they don't. He should come on the media now and start answering the questions about it and put it to bed then if there's nothing to hide. People have a right to have...
What's the feeling inside the Tory party about it? What's the feeling inside the Tory party?
I think it's pretty much the same. We all comply with these rules. When I got there, I got the big pack. I had to start filling out, telling everybody. Yeah. And when you get that form, you feel a real sense of responsibility. Oh, do I need to include this? No, it's worthless. It's like
and all of those rules
came... doing something important. You know you've got to answer those questions properly.
And they became more important, those rules, after the cash for questions, because just to lay out for people who don't know, if you take money from somebody or an organisation and then you're seen to be lobbying in Parliament, that is against the rules of the House, which is fair enough.
Very, very much so, and it's the right thing to do. But, I mean, you talked about the cryptocurrency thing. That's one of the things that's at stake here. One of the guys who's handing over a lot of cash is very deeply involved in cryptocurrency. Nigel has a role in speaking on cryptocurrency in some ways. And if you join all those debts together and it doesn't add up, that's why you need to declare it so people can look at that and see it for the
Let me ask you this, though, be it Labour, be it the Tories. Is there not a feeling that whatever the problems, it's not right for me to sit here and say he's done this, he's done that, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that. I try to have a debate on all things, right? But I actually think this could play, because the one thing that the Tory party and the Labour Party need to understand, when they call it divisive populist party and one man, There are millions of people in this country who right now would vote for the Reform Party. Do you think those people would dissipate without Nigel Farage? Do you think this furore is going to strengthen their resolve? I think only of Trump in America when he said they're out to get me. They're doing this to you. Is this going to harden people's resolve or soften it?
I think it depends on their perspectives, down to individuals. But in reality, every politician who puts themselves forward to elected office should be held to the same standard, and their declaration of interest needs to be made. People need to be able to see where the cash has come from, see what that person's saying, and know full well that it all adds up and it's all clean or not. And decisions need to be made about that.
Deborah's in Essex. I hate the whole idea about Farage is being harassed. A general election is what should be happening. The timing, in my mind, of these Farage stories is suspicious, almost like someone's setting the stage. If Burnham calls a general election whilst Farage is being dragged through the mud, it could derail Nigel's chances of the big job. Just a thought. What do you reckon? It's what I said earlier.
He should get himself out this morning, offer himself up to a few channels and clear it all up if that's where it's at.
God, all these bloody people with mentions. Happy birthday, Jeremy. What are you taking? When are you taking all the alarm clock Brits for a birthday drink? Well, next Wednesday, if England make to the semi-finals. Matt Vickers is standing the bar bill, aren't you? Somewhere in London. But you can put that down to expenses, can't you? Can't you get some benefactor to pay for our note? Can you not do that?
Farage might drop us a few million.
Oh, Eileen. What am I going to say about Eileen? Come on, Eileen. Wishing you a fabulous birthday, Jez. Many more. You don't look a day over 56. So rude. Happy birthday, Jez. At 73, going downhill is not an option. Thanks, John. Hi, JK. Nigel's being harassed. That should not be allowed. Conservatives siding with Labour is disgusting. Nigel and Reform will win, though. Happy birthday. That's Christina. Guy is in Scotland. Say happy birthday. I'm 61 and lovely. You share your birthday with my son Lee, who's 33. He's probably my son, the way things were. I'm joking. Paul in Hitchin. Many congratulations on orbiting the sun 61 times. Is that true? Morning, Debbie.
Happy birthday, Jez. Hope you have a good one. I'm still waiting for my mug that you promised me a couple of months back. You asked me to call in, give my name and address to the person on the phones, which I did. I'm back from my month's holiday, which my sister... But I've still come home and I've still got no mug. I'm still waiting for my talkTV mug.
So, can I just say at this point, you smug buggers through the glass, I can't do everything. Why hasn't somebody sent her a mug, Christian? Are you sending her a mug? Christian Mitchell, executive producer of the Jeremy Kyle Show, whose mobile number I will give out if I ever get that call again, has promised to give this lady 2 mugs. 2 mugs. You're getting 2 for the price of 1. Are you genuinely making that commitment, Christian?
Yeah, I can see 2 mugs.
Oh, and he's just said, I'm looking through the glass at you and Matt. I can see 2 mugs on air right now. Oh!
Give his number out. Give his number out.
You need to go to the gym, because looking through the glass, I can see 2 jugs. 0344 419 1000. Text to 87222. That is Farage. Also, Kemi Badenoch, quite interestingly, yesterday, I want to play you a clip, says the Tories are very sorry for their record on immigration and insists the numbers are coming down because of their policies. Have a watch.
Mistakes were made on immigration, and some people made more mistakes than others, but collective responsibility meant that 250 Conservative MPs got punished for that, and those who were behind understand what went wrong. That's why I have changed the immigration policy. You look at what happened. We just took our eyes off the ball. That is my understanding. I wasn't in the Home Office. And the numbers have started coming down under Labour, not because of Labour, but because of changes that we made. We are very sorry. We've acknowledged that mistakes have been made, and we have the toughest immigration policy that's out there now. We're leaving the ECHR, and there is a full plan to support that. And anybody who does not sign up to that plan cannot be a Conservative MP.
0344 419 1000. Once you make a Kemi. One thing I will say about this lady, she does answer questions, doesn't she?
She certainly does.
I've never heard the leader of an opposition party apologise for the last government before.
She knows who she is. She knows her mind. You know what? You don't have to agree with everything she says, but you know where she stands. She's not messing around. She's got us all signed up to that leaving the ECHR. She has a plan. She knows when she walks down Downing Street with those keys. They don't have keys to number 10 to the... But
you genuinely think she'll be the next Prime Minister of this country?
I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that she is, because I think she's the best thing that can happen to this country. We need somebody like that who's going to talk tough, who's going to actually do what's required to sort out this spiral in benefits bill, make sure that this country actually works for people who work hard and do the right thing. That's the choice that's going to be put before the British people, and they should be voting for that woman.
One thing that I said about, you weren't in, but I was very vocal when she started in the job, saying it was ludicrous that she said very little for a year. I think it's been proven that she took her time and she's got answers. What I would say is, and I'm being completely honest, a poll the other day had her as the most popular politician and potential Prime Minister. But you have to understand, and I know you've always been honest and you've come on this show, the brand by millions is still seen as toxic. Do you genuinely believe that 3 years, because I know what you're going to take because you believe it, is 3 years enough time to convince the... I said to her the other day, that I'm the person, although I'm 61 and my faculties are starting to go, I'm the sort of old Tory voter of 30 years that they need to get back. That's the reality for the Tory party.
The reality is...
Isn't that true?
Well, whatever happens in the short term, people know what the Conservative Party is about. It's about fiscal responsibility. It's about being on the side of working people rather than benefit street. That's what the Conservative Party stood for over time. That's what it will stand for again. You look back in history, every Labour government leaves office with unemployment higher when it leaves than when it arrives. And every time it's down to the Conservatives to come in, support businesses, support the people who actually work hard and do the right thing to get our economy back on track.
But the point you're missing is
that's going to be more needed than ever.
But Matty, that has happened for years, and people feel that you didn't do last time what you said you were going to do. And my question is 5 years enough time to shred what so many people... Because I would have them on this show and they'd go, yeah, I really like her, but I don't trust them, and I won't trust them for a long, long time. There's a natural period of time, isn't there?
Well, there are choices. You can either do what some of my colleagues did, and you can go and get a different coloured rosette and pretend you were never part of the party, that you never were involved in the Home Office in the previous Conservative government.
You're talking about Jenrick and Braverman?
Yeah, you did the Suella Surge and the Jenrick jump. I'm a mate of mine, Jenrick. But actually, in real terms, you can either do that and try and rebrand and pick up a different set of colours and stand behind someone else, or you can stand for what you believe in.
Nearly.
You can get behind that incredible woman who you know could do great things for this country, and you get on with the job and you make that pitch to the British people. That's what I'm doing. That's what a gang of us are going to do, because we know that's the solution to this country's problems.
And Maggie in London, how sick to death we are of hearing about this, but this is gutter press at its finest. Yes, Farage is angry. They've started harassing his family. I promise you this will not deter his voters. Membership growing daily. They see him as a threat to breaking up the Uni Party. How do we know what it's like to be constantly harassed? I'm strong as ever for Nigel. Morning, Jez. This is a witch hunt on Farage, and the Tories and Liberal Democrats and Labour are behind it. Farage takes no expenses. I will still vote for him. Christina, as Poppy said yesterday, it's all out there. Why now? This is going to make Reform UK even more popular. We can see what's going on. Nigel, no, Steve. Morning, Jez. These politicians are like vipers. Nigel wasn't a politician when he accepted the 5 million. As for crypto, Nigel was advertising it way back in 2018 for an online financial magazine. These dying parties never seem to get fact-checked when it's their opinion, and cannot wait to have a dig at the man who will be our next Prime Minister. I know what Matt Vickers is going to say.
It's transparency. If it's there, it can be seen. It would be there if I did it. Someone came down dishing out the dosh to me, I would have to declare it, and you can then make an informed decision about whether that person is or isn't lobbying inappropriately. It's there because of cash for questions. It's there because we've seen what goes wrong if you allow it to happen without any control. It's right that he's asked the questions. He could go out on the media now and he can take the questions and put this thing to bed then, if there's nothing to worry about.
We're going to try and get Nigel Farage on at some point soon, and that's an absolute promise. Stu in Surrey says, Happy Jez, the OG of talk. That's old git. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. You know, with all this stuff going on with Nigel Farage, it resorts to Robert Jenrick to come on the TV. And when a politician says, there's nothing to see here, then that means there's definitely something to see here. You know, the next election is going to be about who is the least rotten. Just the way it's always been, mate. Great show, mate.
The thing that most makes me angry about Keir Starmer, talking about the need to defend our country, and he's gone out of his way to not make the tough decisions, to actually do the thing to defend our nation. It's cowardly, and I think it's treacherous.
Nothing to say on immigration, nothing to say on benefits, nothing to say on jobs, nothing to say on tax. Absolutely appalling. If this is the solution the country's been waiting for, then we are in a very, very bad place.
People up and down the country are asking why they are always being put second. They work every day, they get up, they pay their bills, they look after their kids, and yet the other side of the social contract is not.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:26 on Tuesday, July the 7th. Yes, I'm 61, and do you know what these buggers, Matt, have just put on my screen? These are the perks at 61 you're now entitled to. You can purchase a senior rail car, which gives you a third off standard and first class rail travel across Great Britain. If you live in London, you can apply for the 60+ London Oyster photo card for free travel on TfL. Early pension access. You can usually start drawing from your workplace or personal pension scheme. Working age benefits. Because you are under state pension age, you may be eligible for universal credit. Well, I won't obviously get it, will I, because I'm working. Disability and carer support. If you have a long-term health condition, you can claim personal independence PIP. So PIP, universal credit, a senior bloody rail card, and I can dip into the pension pot as of today. It's not funny. I don't feel 61. I still want to wear... I don't know what's going on. Morning, Steve. I will be voting reform come what may. I want Nigel Farage's policies. Morning, Mandy.
Happy birthday, Jezza. You don't look a day over 60, and lovely to see Matt as well. Have a lovely day. Lots of love.
Lovely to see Matt. I can't even have... look at you giving it large. 6 months ago, they were going, oh, that Tory viper. I'm not giving him the time.
What are you doing for your birthday, Joseph?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Not
Working.
going anywhere special?
No, not at all. Go to bed at 8 o'clock to get up for the breakfast show. Oh, no, I'm not doing the breakfast show tomorrow because... Oh, right, this is the next trauma. Do you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow, I didn't take my birthday off, but I have to take tomorrow off because it's sports day. Because Oliver William Robbins said to me, and I... Have you heard this story about the old git? Sorry to repeat it. You'll love this. He said, Daddy, everybody else has got a daddy coming to the sports day to run in the race. And I went, well, I'm a little bit older than all the daddies. So because what happened last year was, it was really, really quite worrying. I pitched up at the sports day. Damien's just walking in and saying, all right, G-Spot?
Oh, good, brother.
Lovely, good to have him on. So I did, schools cancel sports days as third heat wave looms. Heat, health, oh, please, God, because this is what happened. Pitched up. And then two of these men, like dads, were stretching in running shorts with shoes with spikes. It's only like 100 metres. And I'm put in lane 12, and I thought, I'm just going to come. This is embarrassing. And I looked left, and there was this old man. Have you not heard this story? And I said, well, it was about 76. And I went, what are you doing? He said, well, Granddad, he said that his dad's away, so I've... But he said, and I thought, I've got you bugger, I'm coming 11th. But I set off like a cut cat, honestly, like somebody had removed me. But anyway, I shot that, and I think I might have won or come second. I looked back and he'd fallen over. No, but he'd fallen over and grazed his leg. And then he started fitting. This is a true story.
Did you kick him in the shin or
No,
anything?
not at all. He fell over and he grazed his leg and he started fitting because he hated the sight of blood. Now, have you ever been to a horse race where a horse is injured and they put a screen round? Somebody grabbed a gazebo and put it round this old git, right? I thought, Jesus Christ, we're only in the middle of the dad's race and he's died. I mean, anyway, but the worst bit of all was everyone was going, did you kick him like you did? And when he woke up, he said, I only wanted to beat that Jeremy Kyle. I mean, I got blamed for that as well. So terrified. But
so
hopefully...
is it just a straight sprint? There's not like an egg and spoon or something. You might be better at the egg and spoon.
Why are you saying that?
Well,
so
age,
I can walk.
Age sometimes.
You're saying I'm better with my right hand than with my feet. Is that what you're saying, Matty? Because, yeah, well, listen, either way, it's terrifying, but we'll give it a go. Now, 0344 499 1000. We've talked about Farage. We've talked about Badenoch. Let's talk about Prince Harry. I mean, this has become front page of The Sun, as I said. The King snaps at Harry. All the papers carrying this story. Everybody knows the story of the Sussexes and how they turned their back on wanting to be in the royal family. Off they went to America, talking about how they wanted privacy, la, la, la. Then they sold their story to Spotify and anybody that would buy it. And there's been this sort of standoff, Matty. The latest was they were going to come for the Invictus Games, a year-out thing. He was going to bring his children to meet the King, first time in 4 years. The King obviously got cancer, hasn't been well, and is doing a great job. And there was this ridiculous standoff this week where you can come, no, I'm not coming, you can have Buckingham Palace. And then it all exploded yesterday. He hadn't answered. The King's removed it, but he flew in last night. I don't know where you stand on this. I'm a royalist, but they are just drama, aren't they?
It's just sad, isn't it? It's sad, it's pathetic. Yeah. The fact that this huge British institution is being held captive by the drama of one couple. It's infuriating. And it also reminds you about the stability that we had under the Queen and how years and years of service, this woman never seemed to put a foot wrong. These idiots, you know, I mean, he's just creating drama left, right,
It's like Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, apparently the Pizza Express in Woking. Remember that infamous claim on Newsnight where they said, you know, he said, I went there and I sweated or something. They've said he never came in. I mean, but if you were Charles and you believe in the monarchy, and there's plenty of people who don't listening to this, I happen to, that's my opinion, right? All the Republicans are jumping up and down because these people are, as you quietly... I could argue the toss for the royalty forever, how much money they bring into this country and how much good they do. But, yeah, it's just a mess.
He's playing into the hands. He's playing into the hands of those Republicans, those people who would love to see the end of our monarchy. But actually, the Andrew thing's quite weird, isn't it, the Pizza Express thing?
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor weird? What are you trying to say?
How many years ago, and all of a sudden it's come back out that nobody remembers him good. I think if you worked in Pizza Express and he walked through the door, you would have a bit of a memory of it. But then again, why wasn't this mentioned at the time when he was doing his sweaty interview instead of years down the line? It's all a bit weird.
That was the biggest... If you wanted to mess up, that interview would just... Why are you grinning? I mean, you just wouldn't sit in front of Emily Maitlis, would you?
I don't imagine he just wrote... Somebody will have advised him that was a clever idea.
His daughter arranged it. Do you not know that story?
Yeah, but you...
I don't know which one it was.
What? You checked him beforehand.
Of course. This is... Oh, God. Jez, morning. Loving the show. When are you going full-time? It's a bit harsh. Mark Dolan does Friday. You lot can shut up. I'm going to sports... Honestly, the look on their faces... About Kemi, she's great at the dispatch box, but the Tories will have her out the minute they get back into a pan. None of the Tories have an appetite to withdraw Britain from the ECHR. They want closer alignment with Brussels, and I don't believe, says David Solihull, that she's just doing more than papering over the cracks.
Nobody will be standing for the Conservative Party at the next election unless they believe we should be leaving the ECHR. We're signed up to it. It's happening. We will get the job done.
Ben, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy and Matty, and happy birthday, old boy. Ben from Birmingham. Kemi Badenoch, I actually like her. I emailed her before she was leader of the party about a speech she made about Black Lives Matter, and she responded to me. The problem is they had 14 years to do something about migration. I don't accept that things were overlooked and it was a mistake. None of it was a mistake. It was all done on purpose. And now, as much as I want to trust them, because I'm not a massive fan of Nigel Farage, to be honest either, I don't trust him. I just can't ever trust them to do as they say they're going to do again.
That's an interesting one for you, Matty. We were just saying off air, and I think Christian would agree with this. A year ago, when you started doing this for me, people were just going, I'm not listening to the Tories. They're now saying, we like her, but your record. How do you answer that? It's a good point.
Do you know what? You can look back at 14 years ago who was at the people at the helm have changed completely. I wasn't a minister in the last government. She wasn't the leader of the party.
She was a minister, though. Mel Stride was a minister. James Cleverly was a minister.
Robert Jenrick was a minister. Suella Braverman was a minister. The reality is, I think... You've got to look at this lady, you've got to look at what she's delivering, what she's saying, because she doesn't flip-flop all over. She says what she thinks, she stands by it. She is the sort of leader that this country needs, the sort of person who's going to make the tough decisions.
She's grown into it, Matty.
I think she has, but I always think she's had the strength that she's got. She's always been a woman who's got backbone, who gets stuck in, says what she thinks, regardless of whether it's popular or not. She says what she thinks and what she thinks is right. And that's actually what this country is going to need to clean the mess up that's going to be left by this Labour Party in this rotten government.
Badenoch may be a good leader. This is from Jason in Worthing, Matty, but the Tories won't change their spots and people won't forget who got us into this place. The Tories are just as bad as Labour and are influenced by the blob and the establishment. Jason in Worthing.
There's going to be a choice at the next election. We are the choice. If you're one of those alarm clock Brits who thinks that the system
Morning alarm clock blitz.
It is a bit of a blitz. If you are one of those people who is paying ever more in tax and seeing sod all for it, other than more people sat at home taking more in benefits, and you're frustrated by that, We're the people who've got the alternative offer. You know, Farage had one view 1 minute about the two-child cap, a different view 2 weeks later. The Labour Party is all about benefit street. If you think that people who work hard and do the right thing should pay a decent level of tax and actually be able to get on with their lives and live properly, we're the people. You're paying more in tax. There's less teachers in our streets. There's less teachers in our schools.
Yeah, there's lots of teachers in the streets, yeah.
Less teachers in our schools, less police on our streets, and we're not even able to defend our country properly because we are paying out ridiculous volumes in benefits and welfare.
I want to make the point, and I've said it all day, 0344 499 1000. There are plenty of people who are pro-Nigel Farage. I voted for reform at the last election. There's plenty of people who are now saying maybe Badenoch's the answer. There's many of you saying the Tories are still very, very toxic. But one thing I would say about Matt and the Tory party, you were here a year ago when nobody would listen. They're now saying... But look, there's still anger. Nathan in Perth, Badenoch apologising like it was a slight mistake. I feel they stitched up the UK where immigration is concerned. The Boris wave. Saying sorry, in a way, shows she doesn't... She shows that they haven't learnt a thing. Not sure I agree with that, but you have to answer the fact Boris Johnson, 2 million people came in under the Boris wave. A man who got a massive majority. You won your seat under
the
him.
The Suella surge, the generic jump. You know,
why
the
do you always use Braverman and generic? Because they've gone to reform.
Well, we could just change colours. We could all just jump ship and rebrand and be somebody else.
Did you think about changing colours ever?
No.
You never thought about that?
I believe in what the Conservative Party stands for. I think that the country has to balance the books. I think that the entire point of the government is to be on the side of people who work hard. If you reward people who work hard, they keep working hard, they keep paying more in tax, actually, to provide those public services. That's what the government should be about. It should be enabling people to get on with their lives, get out of the way and let people get on with their lives. That is what the Conservative Party...
Could I just sum up what most alarm clock Brits are saying this morning? Happy birthday, Jez, and any time for the retirement home, you old git. Followed by Julian in Newport. This is absolutely outrageous. Happy birthday, Jezza. Did you know that in dog years, you're dead? I mean, that's lovely, isn't it? Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Jezza. Good morning, team. Mark from Chingford. Feeling pretty chipper today, so I'm not going to moan about the state of the UK. But we all know that Labour are just trying to cast a shadow over Farage because he's doing good in the polls. Anyway, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Jezza, Jezzy, Jez. Happy birthday to you, you old bastard.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. The wife's been on. Happy birthday. Thank you, darling. Morning, Oliver. Morning, Rissy Roo. 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. Happy birthday, you old git, says Jane. I've never seen anyone get as much hassle as Nigel. It's a disgrace. They even sit behind him shaking heads like primary school kids. These people are shameful. What time are you picking me up for G&Ts? Can't walk there. I'm 74, says Jane. Brilliant. I've pulled a 74-year-old. What a great start to my day, that is. Jez, I have no issue in principle with Farage being investigated at the Parliamentary Standards Committee, but I have zero faith that the investigation will be genuinely fair and without prejudgment, and therefore I oppose it. You only have to look at how the other parties are rubbing their hands with glee at what's going on to know that Farage will be found guilty and punished regardless of whether he's actually done something wrong. Nicola in Norfolk. We'll talk Trump in a second. We'll talk Royals, Rupert Bell. Matty Vickers is here. But ladies and gentlemen, at 20 to 7, good morning, Angry Rob.
Morning, Jez. Rob, on my way to work. Not going to wish you a happy birthday, simply because you're a West Ham fan like me, and you've suffered long enough and you're miserable enough. So we'll leave it at that. As for that bloke sat beside you, Matt, I believe his name is, dream on, kid. You make the Conservatives sound holier than thou. Guess what? They ain't. Same as Labour. You've all got a lot of skeletons in your closets, son. And I tell you now, when all of this grooming gang scandal comes out, all of these people that are throwing mud at Farage right now, I wonder how many of their names will crop up on little lists somewhere, or how many when there was councillors, or there was MPs, or whatever they were. We've got long memories, and we're waiting. And when all that stuff does come out, any of you involved that are going after Farage right now, you're going to get both barrels, not just off the voters, mate, but off everybody. You're going to be wiped. So all I'll say is, enjoy it while you can.
It's Angry Rob, you better respond.
Feisty.
Feisty, Angry Rob.
I haven't found any skeletons in the closet yet. Somebody'd have found them by now.
It must be worrying as an MP, though. Seriously, I mean, I've always been very straight with the people on this show. When what happened to me after the television, I had friends being offered all sorts of money to say I'd done some terrible. I mean, it's terrible. Terrible.
With as many skeletons as you've got in your closet,
wow.
You can get away with it. I probably can as well. So
no, I am trying. Listen, there's nothing that nobody doesn't know about me. Seriously, I have been rinsed, and it's not a nice thing, but you talk about transparency. What goes around comes around. Morning, Big Rob. He's off to... Well, I'm not telling you where he's off to do. He's about to jump onto a plane, Big Rob, sort out a mess. That's all I'm saying. Rob in Newcastle. Love you, big man. 0344 499 1000. Can we please talk about Trump? You, a football fan. Obviously, England, great performance. Donald Trump... has just got himself in an even bigger pickle because, without boring anybody, the best striker in America is a guy called Floridin Balogun. Doesn't sound too American to me. Anyway, there we go. He'd been scoring goals for fun, gets a red card in their last game, which means he'd miss last night's sort of last 16 clash against Belgium. The first time I think the USA could have got to a quarter-final. Trump says, I just phoned Infantino, you know, the boss of FIFA, and had a little word, thought it was unfair. Lo and behold, they get rid of it and he plays. And the world's gone absolutely nuts. And he went, I don't even know. This is Donald Trump. And by the way, there is justice. America got walloped by Belgium and are out, to be fair. But this is Donald Trump pretending he had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with it and knows nothing about football. This is genius. Morning, Donald.
I understand sports really well. Really well. And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was two guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other. You can't take your foot and properly place it on somebody else's foot when you're going, no, these were two great athletes that got tangled up, and this referee, who is a little bit suspect, if you check his past, I don't want to say that because I don't like to create controversy, but very suspect. He's our best player or one of our best players, a very vital player, and he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. I said, boy, that's a big, if it happened to another player, it would have been unfair. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA.
He does make the world a much more interesting. It's the guys sat behind him trying to keep straight faces that you feel sorry for, struggling to hold it together.
I had absolutely no idea what... I don't know much about sport. I know everything about sport. What's a red card? Sorry, I just phoned up. Unbelievable. It caused absolute bedlam. The FA... Do you remember Joral Quansah, who got sent off for us against Mexico, the right back? Our FA are now considering their own appeal against that red card. Can you imagine Starmer? Oh, hello, Gianni. I'm just phoning from Downing Street. I do think Joral Quansah's red card was a bit of a disgrace. Would it be all right if you go... I mean, Starmer wouldn't do it.
Trump rings red card. Starmer rings, they probably wouldn't answer the phone, to be fair.
Oh, he's off to... He's at NATO. Is it today he's at NATO? It's his last foreign trip. Are you going to... Can I just throw something at you, and you're a Tory, that actually... Poppy said it yesterday. Why are we all feeling not a bit sorry, but he's become a little bit endearing, hasn't he, in the last 2 weeks?
I'm not feeling that.
You're not feeling that.
Get him out the door.
Really?
Get him out the door. Get him gone.
I'm only joking.
Get him gone.
But he's going to carry on as an MP. Why would you go from being Prime Minister to carry on sitting on the back benches just really, really bitter and twisted? Why don't you just leave?
Yeah, well, a lot of them do it, though, and I think sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse, sometimes they're just very bitter and angry, sometimes they have a contribution to make. I mean, actually, you look at Theresa May, she made some really valid contributions.
She also ruined our police force and was a particularly bad Prime Minister.
But as a backbencher, after leaving office as Prime Minister, actually made a contribution, was active in the House, did things and had a big part to play in lots of debates. Others leave and don't ever do anything else. Some of them have valid contributions. Well, people who have valid contributions to make. But then again, actually, should you force a by-election, beyond being the Prime Minister, the people of wherever you might represent put you in there, and you've got a job to do till the next general election.
Very interesting. 0344 499 1000. Tim says, I see the news has shifted from Mandelson and Andrew to Farage and Trump. I don't think Farage and Trump's news is that bad compared to those two. Jeff, Labour too little, Tories too late, Reform spot on. Happy birthday, JK. Sean says, I love this, I hope Donald Trump... I hope Donald Trump gives Keith Stalin both barrels at the NATO summit. The best birthday present will be a general election. I think he is going to get his head torn off by Trump for the fun. Do you think if he just went up to him, like, this is why I'd like it, if Starmer just went, I don't give a toss what you say, mate. I'm out of here. I'm done it with you. I knew that relationship was stuffed the minute the first ever photo. We talked about this photo opportunity. They walked out and Trump had some papers in his hand. Do you remember? And he dropped it, and Starmer went straight down on both knees and picked it up. And I thought, for God's sake, man, what are you doing? Lovely. 0344 499 1000. Now, there's a lot of news in the papers about the royal family, about Harry, about the debacle, about the psychodrama. Who better to talk about it than Kinsey Schofield, not available? Who better to talk about it than Andrew Lownie, not available? Who better to talk about it than Robert Jobson, not available? So I'm guessing, oh yeah, Rupert Bell, Talks Royal correspondent. Good morning, dear boy.
Oh, good morning. You do this every time, you know, but deep down you know that you really want to talk to me.
It's my birthday. Of course I want to talk to you, Belly.
Well, happy birthday. I've got lots of things planned after 10 o'clock, have you?
No, not at all. I've got no friends and no life at all. I shall simply go home, have my nap, get up, iron a shirt and do the whole thing again. Belly, listen, great to join us. Thank you, mate. This psychodrama... Papers reporting this morning that King Charles finally refused to be pushed around by Harry and indulged in the constant state of chaos amongst this ridiculous accusation that they asked him to stay. He said no. I read last night that he didn't respond, and that even when they said your time's run out because of security and cleaning, then his team still released a statement saying he was staying there. What's the boy on, man?
This is the whole point, and this is why the eye-rolling going on within the royal household just must be, for Harry, what's going on is just ridiculous. What Harry's behaviour around this, it's such a soap opera, a mess, and it's all his own doing. You know, if place had been made from at Buckingham Palace, why didn't he just get on and accept it? Yet he says, well, staying in Buckingham Palace presents extra security issues. Well, I'm pretty sure within Buckingham Palace it's going to be safe for him. The whole thing is just a mess. And Harry needs to start to take a long, hard look at himself, but I'm not sure he's capable. That's the problem. And it's just gone on and on. And finally, I think the royal household just snapped and said, enough's enough. And because they also said, you can't just turn up, because remember, Buckingham Palace is a bit of a building site at the moment. So it's not straightforward. Yet they had given him the opportunity to go and stay there. So for Harry, this is just another example of his stupidity, I think.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because some people yesterday were going, do you know what, I'm done with this psychodrama, they're just a pain. And one point I want to make, which would go down like a lead balloon, why would you want to stay if you're Meghan and Harry in the ceremonial symbol home of the royal family that you've labelled racist? Well, in my opinion, only because their brand is failing massively and they want to be they need to be attached photographs in America with the royal family. But here's the other thing. The other I also heard is the palace playing games. They're saying they can provide a room 1 minute and they can't the next minute. You talk about building work. The bloody Buckingham Palace has got millions of rooms, man. So who's telling the truth here?
I think also I'm going to side with the royal household, and you say, well, you would, but in a way, the place needs, staff. It's probably not geared up. If he's in there, it creates a logistical issue, and that's what the household have said, is that you can't just call up last minute and say, despite the fact that it may have lots of rooms, there's no one else staying there. Because it's obviously used for big occasions, it is the heart and home of the royal family. Yet you're right also, from the Sussex's point of view, they're desperate to sort of enhance their royal connections, and staying at Buckingham Palace would have been part of that. The other thing for the King and the royal household, today we're going to hear the news of that court case brought against Associated Newspapers.
Yeah.
And that will be interesting. So if it goes for him or against Harry, if he's staying at Buckingham Palace, it might be, again, that sort of creates an extra layer of problems for the royal family. So whatever the verdict is. So there are lots of things at play here. But for Harry, this whole trip has just been a saga that he could have sorted out right from the get-go.
And I don't care if people dislike this. Part of this, the biggest problem for me, will be her chirping away in his ear. She doesn't want to come to London. What, because the royal family's racist? Well, don't come at all. But I do want to see the King, because probably I would like some clickbait. But you're not going to... London's not safe, but going to Althorpe to see the Diana, bless her, late, great Diana Spencer's grave, that is acceptable. It's such... And you're right, eye-rolling is the best way to describe it. I suspect that everybody's just fed up to the back teeth. I wouldn't trust them further than I could throw them. I would think that if they came, what would be in the newspapers in a heartbeat? And that's the issue. And Matty, you made the point. Matt Vickers is here. And you said earlier, it's such a shame because there are plenty of detractors about the royal family. And Belly and I would be absolute... we'd extol every virtue, how much they do for this country. The King doesn't need this crap, excuse my French, does he? He doesn't need it.
Harry's just desperate for relevance now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to fade away and disappear unless he can create more drama, make himself relevant, and get another series on.
But does he not? But does he not know? I mean, you'd agree with this, Belly. The more people aren't going, oh, poor Harry. They're going, you're just playing games, man. The world is. You know this, Rupert. Matt knows this. I know it. There's real things happening in the world, and people just go, you entitled, arrogant... That's what they think.
Wait, they do think that. And also, why is it any different, the security problems in London, to going to Birmingham? That's, again, the point. He's just as vulnerable, I would assume, if he is vulnerable, in Birmingham. And there will be a level of security always around him. Now, but he wants the bells and whistles, outriders approach to it, so that it can sort of add to his self-importance and create the impression...
But my argument is No, I'm having a go at both of you at all. He wants self-importance. You didn't want anything to do with the monarchy, man. So stop wanting the stuff that comes with it when you're not putting in the hard yards and working for it.
Well, you're right, because he suddenly thought the grass was greener on the other side. And suddenly, the cold reality, he's not actually now being able to generate money because everything was done for him. In the royal family, he could have had a significant part to play in the modern royal family, and people would have understood that. But he's chosen a different lifestyle, and you're absolutely right. Why doesn't he just accept his situation and get on with it and deal with the here and now rather than making it an episode of EastEnders or some soap opera? It's real life, the episodes of The Crown. It is absolutely ridiculous. And it's his own doing, and also his wife's doing. And let's be honest, his wife's fallen out with her family, and Harry's now fallen out with his family.
Well, I'd like to say one thing to you, 2 words, and Kinsey said it for a month. Thomas Markle, if you're so concerned with your grandchildren seeing that their grandfather, try your father, or is it because Harry's father's the King of England? Belly, thank you so much indeed, my friend. Have a great day. Appreciate your involvement. Matty Vickers, you've been brilliant as ever. Couple of minutes to sum it up. Prince Harry, drama, drama, drama. Nigel Farage, you say, if you've got nothing to hide, declare it.
Come clean. There's a process in place. There's rules in place. We've all got to comply with them. They're there for good reason, to stop things like cash for questions. It's the right processes and rules to have in place. He can come out and he can start answering questions about it. He might be able to make it all go.
Well, here's a question for you, Mike. Good morning.
I'm sorry, lads. I'm going to have to jump in here. I'm going to agree with Jezza. I believe Kemi is good. Wrong person, wrong time, possibly even wrong party. Matt, I do like him, my man, but you keep going back and saying, look who's in the party. Let's look at the facts. These are facts. You said that the Tory party have signed up to this new thing that anybody that doesn't want to leave the ECHR will not be in that party, or they're not going to be part of that. Okay, yeah. This country voted for 14 years, less immigration. Did that happen? You signed up to that through your mandate? Didn't happen. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the point. It is not happening.
Matthew?
I wasn't there 14 years ago. I don't know where I was. I might have been at Woolies.
How long have you been an MP?
2019. So I've been an MP, second term. But I wasn't there 14 years ago. To try to get me to answer 14 years is quite a biggie. A lot of things
But you
happened
admit
14 years
mistakes
ago.
were made in the last few years.
I would tell you that mistakes were made. Kemi has told you that mistakes were made. It doesn't mean that we give up on it and call it a day. It means we go out and fix those problems. My party, everybody who stands for Parliament in my party at the next election will have signed up and agreed to leave the ECHR to get behind that woman who's got the answers to the problems that this country faces.
Matt Vickers, a deputy Tory party chairman, who next Wednesday, for making it the semi-finals, will be going out on the lash with me. This is Talk Breakfast.
We've got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030. Good. After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely being mad. Crowborough is a quiet, leafy town in East Sussex. These people, you can see, have been pushed to their absolute limit. They're not the types that you usually see protesting about this sort of thing. But that town has been absolutely desecrated.
You're ruining the country. Get Keir Starmer out. Look, England flags. You're useless. Labour parties are useless.
I love our country. And one of the things about our country is good manners. Not very British.
What Labour advisor thought she wasn't going to be heckled at a petrol station in Leeds? Do these politicians actually ever get out and understand what it's like for real working class people? I thought it was British to exercise a right to free speech. That's what Keith Stalin told Trump. That's what White Van Man was exercising yesterday to Richard III. Oh yes, I remember. We're not really allowed our right to free speech in case we criticise the government.
You can't blame people so many decades away from you for the chaos that has been caused by Labour.
This is cheap politics, isn't it, Syrian?
Well, it's stupid politics. I mean, who raised national insurance on part-time workers? Labour. Who's been the stupid people that have wandered down the road and increased taxes on businesses and on individuals? Labour.
A lot of people get very frustrated, especially when the government says, oh, free school meals, you know, for every kid, not just the kids who really need them, free bus passes, free this, free that. None of it's free. It's subsidised and paid for by the taxpayer. And we're in this constant situation where the government's answer to everything is tax us a bit more, take more of our money, and then give some more of it away generously. It's our sodding money they're giving away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's either someone else's money today, another taxpayer, or even worse, it's the money from our future.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Listen, welcome back, welcome along. Let's just get this out of the way, shall we? Yes, it is my birthday. I'm 61 years of age, and frankly, the abuse that I've got this morning is off the charts. Apparently, I share my birthday. This sounds like one of those DJs. Do you remember on commercial radio? Oh, welcome to the 212th day of the year. There's 138 to go. The sun's up at 7:12. And today, May's famous birthdays. Ringo Starr, that's good. Sylvester Stallone, brilliant. I've got a story about him, but I couldn't possibly broadcast it. George W. Bush. And Jack Whitehall. And I know it's Jack Whitehall's birthday because I was once doing my show and he was on this morning and they rang us up and that was very exciting. So, yeah, happy birthday. Great. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. It's Sarah from Croydon. I want to wish you a very, very happy birthday. And just to say, I'm going to whisper it, Matt Vickers is my secret crush, but sadly I'm about 10 years too old. But do you know what, Jez? I'll always be 10 years younger than you. Have a great day.
Brilliant. You see, the stars. My daughter, Harriet's just texted me. Only 9 years off the big 7-0, Dad. I can hear Christian laughing. Honest to God, happy birthday, Jez. You're only 12 in cat years, which is a result, Crystal. Thank you, because in dog years, I'm dead. 03, I mean, it's true. In dog years, I am dead. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Good morning to you, you alarm clock Brits, you hard workers. So much to talk about today. We'll get your calls on, we'll get your texts on, we'll get your voice notes on as well. Same number, 0344 499 1000. Morning to the Lawton gang. Darren Lawton, what a legend. What a legend that man is, and his beautiful wife, Julie. Mad Julie. I'm not going into any details there. Thank you for that message. What are you waking up to? Well, you're waking up to... there's a load of news about Prince Harry and this debacle of the trip to the United Kingdom. Front of the Sun calling it out today. King snaps at Harry. Is he going to stay at Buckingham Palace? Is he not? Do I care? I don't understand the boy. I don't understand a boy who married a woman, they decided to have a life, they didn't want anything to do with the royal family until clickbait ended, and now apparently, well, and they called it racist, and now apparently they want all the trappings with no work. That's not how it works. It's giving the Republicans a moment, but we'd love to hear what you think. 0344 499 1000. Nigel Farage insisting he's done nothing wrong. Let me just give you this story in as balanced a way as I can. Nigel Farage, a couple of weeks ago, there was a story, I think about a month ago now, that he'd been given £5 million from a crypto billionaire, Christopher Harborne, who lived in Thailand, has now registered to vote in the UK. People are saying you shouldn't have had that. Did you get it before you're an MP? You should have declared it with transparency. He was referred to the sort of standards committee in the Commons over the weekend. Another story about a close associate, George Cottrell, about other gifts and help. Nigel Farage saying there's nothing to see here. This is a personal gift, but he's been referred again. There is a high chance that Nigel Farage, if found guilty, could be in the words of officials, suspended from the Commons. If that's a lengthy suspension, that will automatically result in a by-election in his Clacton constituency. Now, lots of politicians, Matt Vickers, we've got Carl Turner in a minute, will jump on board quite rightly and say, transparency, transparency. I want to play, because I think it's very relevant, I did it last hour, Poppy Coburn from The Telegraph was on our show yesterday. She saw this attack on Nigel Farage as motivated for different reasons. Have a listen, have a watch.
Let's not forget, this Labour government began with Lord Ali's donation scandal, where a man who was donating directly to politically affected officials was allowed to pick the selection of Labour MPs who had great influence over the direction of the party. So he literally paid, I'm sorry, it seems like it, he paid and then he got influence. So let's put that on the table. Leaving aside even the Peter Mandelson job, where, again, another seriously unsavoury individual who actually had great political influence and was best friends with a paedophile. So there's Labour. They are turning around and now saying, Nigel Farage, look at him, look how dirty he is, look how dirty his party is. This is someone who's given up 25 years of his life to fight against the establishment, who has got more death threats than any other politician. You don't hear that in the news, seriously. If he has taken this money before he was an MP from someone where there is no suggestion whatsoever that he's changed his opinion, OK, Nigel Farage has been completely consistent politically
for 25 years.
For 25 years, for as long as I've been alive. He's known this person, a friend of his, for a very long time. This is not cash for questions, this is not cash for access, OK? This is someone basically saying, you're a friend and I need to support you because the state isn't stepping in and you're getting death threats. He can do with that money as he pleases, frankly. All of the stories that the Times is breaking as exclusive this weekend, and the BBC is running on as exclusive breaking news, is already out there. We've known this for years. Why is it coming up now? Why is it being repackaged now as breaking news?
So there's lots of people who are jumping on board, reform voters and supporters who say this is a hatchet job. Maybe the mainstream media and certain media outlets and other politicians are doing this because a general election or Andy Burnham's coming in. None of us know the truth, but Nigel Farage jumped off a plane from America last night, and I know the man. I genuinely know the man, and what he said and the way he said it and the look on his face tells me there's a lot more to this story, which undoubtedly will come out. And I'm not talking about revelations, I'm talking about the way certain people have behaved. Have a watch. This was Nigel last night. Was it a mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir?
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Mistake not to declare the gifts, sir.
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
0344 499 1000. We'll take your opinions on that. We'll talk about the Royals. We'll talk about Trump getting involved with trying to get an American footballer well, basically out of trouble. That backfired. And also I want to talk about a Times report today. This is interesting, that says that more than 100,000 people get benefits for ADHD with no influence to go and get work. This is an increase of 40% since Labour came to power. Around 4 in 10 are receiving the top rate of daily living and mobility allowance, nearly 200 quid a week. ADHD, a known condition, plenty of people have it. Doesn't mean you can't work, does it? And should be getting £195 a week. Let's say a very good morning to the independent MP for Hull East, a man who stood up to Starmer, saw him out the door, and somebody who believes that Andy Burnham will make a difference. He's going to start by saying, happy birthday, you old git. Good morning, Carl Turner.
I am indeed, Jezza. Good morning and very happy birthday to you. Many happy, more happy returns.
Well, the thing is, apparently in dog years, I'm dead, Carl. So that's not great, is it?
It's not good. It's not good. But you're looking well, actually, Jezza. I've got to tell you, you don't look 61.
Well, the face is frozen, teeth are false. I'm as shallow as anything, me, but there you go. Listen, Carl, thank you, mate, for joining us. I guess the obvious place to start is Nigel Farage, and other political parties seem to be rubbing their hands with glee. Matty Vickers from the Tory party wasn't rubbing his hands. He simply said, be transparent if you've nothing to hide. Do you think the timing of this is quite interesting, though, Carl?
Well, look, what I'll say about it is the rules are there, the fairly strict rules. They tend to be very unforgiving. Look, I'm a lawyer by trade, Jeremy, and what I've always looked at with this is the fact that the rules are really strictly applied, very unforgiving. There's no appeal. So if Farage is found guilty by the Commissioner for Standards, that's about as far as it goes. If there's a 10-day suspension that comes as a result of it, there's a potential petition in his constituency and he'll be triggered. So there could be a by-election and there's no appeal from it internally. Now, as a lawyer, I bang my head against a wall with that because I think even MPs, and I don't believe in the transparency thing, right? I do, honestly I do. But I do believe that even MPs ought to have the right to challenge these rules, and we do not have the right. And the problem is we make the rules as MPs and we don't have the bottle to challenge the rules because constituents come down on us and say, what are you frightened of? That's the problem we're in. It's the same to a degree as MPs' salaries and expenses. We don't make the rules on this stuff, but we don't change the rules because we're frightened of what the electorate might say.
I would only say this, and I've tried to handle it in the right way, and I've tried to give all sides. The problem, not the problem. I don't know whether the timing's relevant. I don't know whether it's a hit job, as Nigel Farage will say. I don't know the whys and wherefores of what or what he hasn't had. I did look at his face there on the interview and I know the man, and something more has gone on here. I don't care what anybody says, and I've had you on this show talking about how you were treated appallingly by certain people in Parliament, and I gave you the airtime because I supported you on that and I believed you on that. I know Farage enough to know that the face when he was talking there, there has to be something else. However, there are other thoughts to this. Let's just say Nigel Farage is found guilty on one or both of those cases by the Standards Committee. I would like to suggest that will do, and this is where his opponents need to be careful, that will do nothing more, if there's a by-election, then give him an increased majority and absolutely harden the will of millions of people in this country, millions, who should not be ignored by either the Labour Party or the resurgent Tory party, because they will see it as, here's a man who stuck his neck on the line for 25 years, has been consistent in what he said and is being got at because they believe he's getting nearer and nearer to the Holy Grail. And that needs to be said as much as it needs to be said that there's obviously a process. That's all I'm thinking, Carl.
I think you're right. I mean, look, it depends how it plays out, right? If there is a by-election, I mean, there's a few hurdles to jump before we get there. We've got to get a Commissioner for Standards Inquiry to report. It's got to find that he needs to be suspended because the offence is so serious that it requires 10 days or more. Then there's got to be a trigger. So the electorate in Clapton on Sea have got to vote, have got to effectively go to the local authority building, the city building, and sign a petition. If they get more than 10%, there's then a by-election. But I think in those circumstances, Farage would win and he'd win well.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to stop Farage is by delivering policy, right? If we get Burnham in, and we will do, I think, in a week or two from now, and we start to deliver policy, people might start saying, I'm going to vote Labour. I'm not going to vote for the Reform Party in my constituency. That's the only way you're going to stop Farage forming a government in 3 years from now. I keep saying this time and again to people. But look, I'm not knocking the rules. I think Farage probably, I don't know, but I think he should probably have, declared the thing. But if there's a by-election, I think he'll be a martyr and I think he'll win hard. But it depends, Jeremy, whether he can be bothered to do the fight on this. Can Farage be bothered to stand? Can he be bothered to go through the mill on this issue and be the candidate again if, in fact, we get to that situation? And that's the question, because I do think without Farage, Reform are in big trouble.
I think that you have summed it up perfectly there. I think you've summed it up absolutely perfectly, which, of course, leads other people to think, what is the reason behind this? But, of course, absolutely, let's play this game. Not even play the game, let's be honest. You're a lawyer. There probably should be different processes, but those are the rules. But I suspect, knowing the man as I do, like I know you, I think there's more to this. And the next stage is, I saw him in that clip. I've never seen him that angry. I've never seen him that... I mean, he just got off a flight, right? But it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. But I like your acknowledgement. I like your acknowledgement that people should not underestimate the millions of people in this country, and you used a word, martyrs, a very interesting word. Can I talk about Andy Burnham? Andy Burnham, the coronation continues, it seems. Keir Starmer off to NATO for his final trip, where he's going to get both barrels from Donald Trump, fresh and trying to bend the World Cup rules. Did you watch the game the other night, by the way?
Didn't, mate. I was planning to, but I fell asleep and I woke up halfway through, and obviously it was gripping. And I mean, incredible. I'm not a football fan, Jezza, to be honest. I'm a rugby league man.
Good man.
But I tell you what, when we're playing in these competitions, I get incredibly patriotic and I get incredibly interested in football. And by the end of it, I pretend I'm some sort of an expert. I'm not. I don't even understand the offside rule. My missus keeps trying to explain it.
Sorry, can we just... I don't want to make any comments that are controversial. Carl Turner's just admitted on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show that his wife has to explain the offside rule to him. That's brilliant.
True story, mate.
Yeah.
True story.
So just in terms of Burnham, I mean, this has taken the heat. I mean, there again, the sceptics are saying this is all Farage to take the heat off Burnham. There was a lot of talk about a week ago, needs to call an election, hasn't got a mandate. Saw a question and answer thing, I think, online. He did Reddit over the weekend. He says he still hasn't decided on his cabinet makeup. Would it be fair to say, even though, well, that's what I think, even though you have undoubtedly, and you're saying we now, because you've told me on the show you'll go back, he will have you back, you've changed your leader, but the same problems remain. And let's not dress this up, let's have the facts. The facts are... Starmer's left him with either a 15 billion or 5 billion shortfall on defence, which he's going to have to do. There was a bunch of Labour MPs over the weekend saying, don't you dare cut benefits, but that's a bloated bill that is, and the ADHD story reiterates this morning, that needs to be looked at, but the Parliamentary Labour Party won't have that. Where's he going to get the money from? The big suspicion, Carl, amongst millions of people across Middle England is that Andy Burnham, whether he dresses differently or speaks differently, will have one of two options. One is cut benefits, which he won't do, which means he'll raise taxes. And that is the major problem the Labour Party have, whether they're under Starmer or Burnham. That's what I'm told daily. What's your response to that, pal?
Well, look, I think Burnham's got a bit of a magic touch in the sense that if he does decide to cut 5 billion from welfare benefits, he'll be able to take the Parliamentary Labour Party with him in a way that Starmer never could. That's the first point. But I agree with you, Labour MPs are going to be reluctant to take money off who we consider, frankly, to be more vulnerable. That's the truth. We just do. Right.
But why don't Labour MPs, I get that, but I jumped in for a reason. Why can't the Parliamentary Labour Party see, acknowledge or accept that, yes, this is not about an attack on the vulnerable, it is an attack on hundreds of thousands of people who are not vulnerable, who are gaming the system? Do you think, for example, in the Times today, a 40% increase on people with ADHD means now 100,000 people are getting nigh on £200 a week, right? Because they've got ADHD. That is ludicrous. I'm not going into details. Somebody in my family has it, right? They go to work every goddamn day. They graft every day for their family. They're not on benefits. The Parliamentary Labour Party is missing a trick, because if they allowed him to do something, the unfairness of those on welfare benefits, and argued that genuine people are missing out, he could win a general election. It's not rocket science. Stop the boats, or cut benefits, or, I don't know, call a grooming gang inquiry, or stop stupid net zero, and I think Burnham would get in on his own right.
I think, look, the majority of our grafting people are not keen on giving money to people who are going to languish on benefits. That's true, right? I agree with you. But not everybody who's on benefits is taking the mickey out the country either.
No, but some are. Some are. That's what I'm saying. Why won't the Labour Party acknowledge that there are... It's almost like a shut door to them. There are people screwing the system. And the argument should be that that's taking further funds away for the vulnerable and the needy. And I've always said it, mate. I'm honest. You know I am. I'm happy to go to work and pay. I love the idea. I think it was the greatest invention in the modern world, a system that says, we'll help people who can't help themselves. But I'm sick, as millions are, of paying tax to help people who've got no intention of working, man. It's fair enough.
Look, it is fair enough, and I agree with you. People who are 16 to 24 who are claiming benefits need to be severely desperate for the support, in my view, because it's the age where you're at your fittest. You should be getting up in the morning and going to graft, and enjoying the fact that you're getting up in the morning and going to graft.
Yeah.
That's my point on this, right? That's the years when you should be grafting hard into your 30s and 40s, and indeed beyond. We're working, we're not retiring until we're 70 and plus now. So, you know, we need to address the issue of people who are just resorting to benefits because they don't want to try hard to get a job, or in fact they can't get a job. I sound a bit like Ian Duncan Smith on this stuff, but I think we need to put more emphasis on getting people into graft and keeping them in work.
So why won't the parliamentary... So why won't your ex-colleagues, soon to be your real colleagues, or maybe they will under Burnham, maybe he has got a magic touch, why won't a majority of them, hear me out, you say that he will have the party, Starmer didn't. Starmer tried to cut $5 billion off of 330... If Burnham went to his backbenchers and went, listen, because they're not going to get rid of him, they've got him there, I am going to cut 10% off that benefits bill, 30 million. I am going to show you how it's done, and I'm going to show you that the vulnerable will not be affected in any way. I'm going to actually turn the message and say it's a positive way. This is a winner, kids, and you might get to keep your seats. That's the way to govern, to lead, to be convicted, to make difficult decisions, which the man on screen, Starmer, wouldn't make a bloody difficult decision because there was nothing to him.
The problem, Jeremy, with Starmer, and I've said it time and again, is he didn't lead the PLP, right? There was no pitch rolling, there was no discussion with the Parliamentary Labour Party. He just effectively outsourced that to everybody else because he wasn't interested, right? And then when he found out that he was going to lose a vote, he started to panic and he U-turned, and that's why we ended up with 17 U-turn. It's the truth. I think Burnham will be different in that regard, and I think he will want to speak to people and ensure that he's bringing the party with him. Whether we're going to wear it, you know, to the extent where we're going to have a savage cut to welfare benefits is another question, because you're dead right, by the way. We've got to start to acknowledge what the country wants if we want to win elections. And if we're not prepared to do it, we're going to lose elections time and time again. And the reality is, we've got to accept, do you want to deliver for the electorate? Do you want to deliver what they're asking for us time and again on the doorstep? Or do you just want to concede defeat and be out of power? Now, I want to be in power, Jeremy, not for the sake of being in power, but to deliver for the people who vote for me in East Hull. And may they continue, hopefully, to vote for me. But if we don't get it right this time, I'm afraid to say this, I'll get me P45 and there's guaranteed to be Reform MP in East Hull. No doubt about it, no question. People haven't changed their minds yet about the Labour Party in my constituency. If there was a general election next week, I'd be gone. So let's get a grip. Let's deliver for the punters. and we might make a difference and win elections.
Great to have you on, mate. Always a pleasure, especially on the birthday. The brilliant Carl Turner. And yeah, the thing about this show is, thanks, pal, is we've had the deputy chairman of the Tory party, Matt Vickers, saying that Kemi is turning opinion against. We've got Carl there acknowledging that if Andy Burnham gets the job, he's going to have to make decisions that haven't been popular before. We'll speak to Sarah Pochin later from Reform. We put all sides on this show. I've said it repeatedly. Not a sign of the Liberal Democrats. They didn't even answer our call. Perry, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Still don't trust the Conservatives. But then I really did have high hopes for Rishi Sunak, because I thought, well, at least this guy ain't doing it for the money like the rest of them, because the guy was minted. He weren't doing it for the money. So I had high hopes for him. But, you know, in the time he had, he didn't achieve anything and people gave up hope with him. It's just the same old thing now. You know, we're going to get, if we did get Kemi in, all it'd be, if they did win, it'd be, oh, we can't do this because the mess we've inherited from the Labour Party. But for me, it was Boris Johnson's green policy that turned me against Conservatives, telling me that I can't buy a petrol or diesel car because his wife wants to end petrol and diesel cars. I can't have one anymore. That's what done it for me. And I'll never vote Conservatives again.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 7:28. We're live across the UK. Tuesday, the 7th of July. Yes, I'm 61, and in the Daily Mail it says, who says you're past your peak? Brains are best from 55 to 60. And then it goes downhill. I literally just found myself buzzing through to Christian and saying, could you please do an ad break up to the 8 o'clock news because I forgot to go to the loo during the set. And they all went through, they looked at me and they went, and so it starts. He forgets to go to the loo. We now have to deal with an incontinent old git who wets himself in the middle of the breakfast show. Morning, Paul. Everyone just needs to calm down. If Farage does get suspended, he just needs to get Donald to call Lindsay Hoyle and get it thrown out. Brilliant. Happy birthday, you old timer. Just you wait until you reach 83 like me. You won't be so chippy then. Mr. Angry from Dorset, nice. Don in Chelmsford, morning, Jez. Trump will give Starmer a red card at the NATO summit. You see what he did there? Because there's this great story over the weekend. Well, it's not great, it's awful. When politics meet sport. Although the USA's World Cup dream is over, Donald Trump didn't take too well that the star striker of the US, Florin Balogun, sounds American, doesn't it, was suspended because of a red card. So he phoned up Gianni Infantino, the boss of FIFA, who went, oh, we'll just throw it, forget it, you can play. And Donald Trump's like, should we play the clip? Because it's bloody brilliant. This is Trump sort of justifying why he got involved in he said, just listen to him, he's genius or mad. I don't know what you think.
I understand sports really well. Really well. And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was two guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other. You can't take your foot and properly place it on somebody else's foot when you're going, no, these were two great athletes that got tangled up, and this referee, who is a little bit suspect, if you check his past. I don't want to say that because I don't like to create controversy, but very suspect. He's our best player or one of our best players, a very vital player. And he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. I said, boy, that's a big, if it happened to another player, it would have been unfair. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA.
Oh, a review by FIFA. I was reading a text from the wife. I will, Vic, I'll get there. 7:30, 0344 499 1000. A lot of you responding to the fact that Kemi Badenoch yesterday saying, I'm very sorry for our record, the Tories on immigration, but the numbers are coming down because of things we put into play. And unlike the other parties, we have a genuine plan to stop the boats and change it. Start listening to us. Morning, Julie.
Morning, Jeremy. Happy birthday. Matt Vickers, bless his heart, he really is trying to do a good sales pitch, isn't he, for the Tories? But he needs to realise Kemi is like the boy that cried wolf. No one's ever going to believe a word she says. She was a part of that 14 years of a terrible government, now trying to distance herself from it along with others in the party. You've got a long way to go, Matt, I'm afraid, before anyone takes your party seriously ever again.
It's interesting. Lee's in Market Harbour. He goes further. Morning, Jez. Why should we believe Kemi? Boris convinced people he would sort everything out, then found out that he couldn't and turned into a green lunatic because of his wife after COVID. Sorry, but in my mind, the Tory party is finished. Jez, as much as I want an election, I fear it will be incredibly dirty and full of lies, deception and vague manifestos. Politicians need to grow up and act professionally. Happy birthday. Come on, Matt. A bit of honesty, please. Suella Braverman was the only one to call out the illegal migrants for what it was and still is, an invasion. She got blasted out of the Conservative Party. It's the petty playground attitude that really annoys me. If only there was honesty in Parliament and working together for the sake of the people. I don't care, by the way, what Nigel is being falsely accused of. In my opinion, he's the only chance we have to control the problems we have. The Tories, says Lisa Price, have put us into the position. They broke Britain. They have not done what we repeatedly asked for, i.e. control of immigration. Whatever Kemi Badenoch says. And why can't Vickers say anything without smirking? Steve's in Sussex. The Tories removed 20,000 police. 14 years of Liberal left Tory government caused this Labour fiasco. Tory corruption over COVID contracts. How many made millions? So, Jez, you're all about alarm clock Britain again after yesterday's giggling about people taking sickies. Regards to... Oh, I wasn't giggling. I was just saying a lot of people... Well, I am about alarm clock. You've been told off. Fancy being told off on your birthday. Jeremy and Matt. If Starmer phones up about a red card, the whole team will be expelled from the... expelled from the World Cup. Happy birthday, Jez. Thank you for your service to the cause of common sense. If it wasn't for you and the rest of the Talk team, I would have jumped ship a long time ago, says Daryl. Ruth, happy birthday, you old git. I wonder if your wife would take a picture of you in your lycra at sports day, sweating like a pig. That would be great. Please post it. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not wearing lycra. Happy birthday, Papa Smurf. What does that mean? Welcome to the more frequent toilet breaks and increased Viagra subscription. Mind you, I tried Viagra eye drops. They didn't work, but they made me look hard. Hey, it's all coming out. Just gone 7:35. One of the things that Andy Burnham said, by the way, in that speech in Manchester where he talked about, you know, number 10 in the North, was that he under Mancherism, I can't say it, Manchesterism, that's it, Manchesterism, under the blueprint that apparently works so well in Manchester, he expects regional mayors to take on a sort of state-like responsibilities for lowering living standards, to lower living standards, and also drive economic growth. He wants mayors to have more of a say. We're delighted to be joined now by the Conservative Mayor of Cambridge and Peterborough, Paul Bristow. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. How are you?
I'm very well, Jeremy. Happy birthday.
Oh, God, thanks, mate. So we had a Labour mayor on last week. I don't mean to be rude, I can't remember his name. And he was talking about how, you know, this devolution of power from central to local mayoral level is a great thing. How long have you been the mayor of Cambridge and Peterborough?
Just over a year, Jeremy.
How's it going?
Well, look, this is a great job. I get to focus on economic redevelopment of my city in Peterborough. I've got Cambridge as well, which is an economic powerhouse. I run transport, I run buses, I run skills. And if Andy Burnham wants to give me more power around skills, around fiscal devolution, so I can raise more cash, keep some of the money that's raised in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, not increase taxes, by the way, Jeremy, but just keep some of the money that we get. I think that's a jolly good thing, and I think we can sort out some of the challenges that we've got. But look, let's be honest, being mayor is a very different job than being Prime Minister. And while Andy Burnham is credited by some as doing a good job in Manchester, it's a very different job being Prime Minister. You've got to make tough choices.
I think it's... So you, on the one hand, would agree with and support this devolution of power to give mayors more responsibility. I'm not against it in principle, but you'll forgive me. I work during the week in London, and I've seen what Sadiq Khan has done to my friends who drive black taxi cabs in London. He's destroyed their livelihood. I've seen some of the money that he spent on some of the madness, and I'm prepared to say that because for me, you know, knife crime is prevalent in this city. He refuses to acknowledge that whilst he sweeps along with 20-mile-an-hour speed limits and whatever other mad, woke DEI rubbish he brings in. Sure, there are good mayors. My problem with Burnham is like you, though. I just said it to Carl Turner, who is an independent at the moment but will be welcomed back into the fold. If Burnham becomes Prime Minister, forget even the debate about no mandate. What changes? We are skint. We're paying 10 or 15 billion a month in interest on debts we cannot afford. The Labour Party for 2 years has refused to attack the four things that matter, actually, and I'm sure it's the same locally as it is nationally, which is stop the boats, do something about a welfare benefits bill that is ludicrous, and it's not about the vulnerable, it's about the people taking the out of the system. Do something about an energy. I mean, every single part of the energy issue in this country affects businesses, it affects people. And I've never, ever been able to understand, to be honest, Paul, how you can have billions of pounds worth of reserve under the North Sea and you refuse to do anything about it. And also, announce a national grooming gang inquiry that deals with one of the biggest, most disgusting stains on this society ever. But I know that none of that's going to happen under Burnham, so I find myself, like millions of others, questioning what's going to be different.
Well, I think, Jeremy, you've hit the nail on the head. There are several microeconomic things you can do to try and drive growth, and that's what we all want, economic growth, because that means more taxes, right? And that suddenly means more receipt, and then we can spend more money, right, on the things that we need to spend money on, things like defence. But we will only get that through economic growth, not through hiking taxes. And I can do stuff at a local level to drive economic growth in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, but that's all going to be wiped out if we don't solve some of the big macro challenges that you identified. The fact that we're spending hundreds of billions of pounds on welfare and on debt interest as well, remember that as well. But hundreds of millions of pounds on welfare that we need to bring down. We've got to spend more money on defence because we live in an ever insecure world. And look, you know, we're not going to get economic growth unless we have cheaper energy, and we won't have cheaper energy unless we start drilling in the North Sea and becoming energy independent that way. Look at what Norway's done. It seems remarkable that we're buying oil and gas from Norway from the same fields that we own in the North Sea. It's madness, Jeremy.
To me, you've nailed it, and it infuriates me every day. It's so ludicrous to think those are our oil fields, and because of, I don't know, the mad green zealot minority, as I call them, that we're actually allowing somebody else to drill our fields, the Norwegian, and we're buying it off them for more. No, energy is at the root cause of all of this. But I don't know if you were listening. I said to Carl Turner in his response, because I said to him, if I was Andy Burnham with the political capital I'm going in with, I'd sit them 400 down and say, you've got no option here because you will all lose your jobs. I'm going to have to cut. I'm going to have to do something because I need to listen to the British people. And the 4 things I pointed out are entirely what the British people are worried about. Can I just ask you before you go about the Kemi comment yesterday? She said she was very sorry for the Tories' record on immigration and insists the numbers are coming down. A lot of people, totally straight, always have been on the show, like what they hear about Badenoch, but believe that the Tory brand, due to Boris, Sunak, May, Liz Truss, is toxic still, and it won't stop being toxic for a long while. What's your answer to that, Paul?
Just on your earlier point about Burnham, you're never more powerful than you are on day one, and so I think you've nailed that completely. But as for Kemi, we're under different leadership now, and Kemi is right to say that we certainly didn't get everything right on immigration under the last government, and she's right to apologise for that. But look, now's the time to get off our knees. You know, we have apologised, we have recognised those mistakes, and Kemi is the most popular prime ministerial candidate, if you like, the most popular leader of any of the major leaders of political parties, and she can be prime minister. She's got to use that personal brand she's got to try and, let's say, detoxify the Conservative brand, because I understand there's a lot of people who feel let down, but the Conservative Party still lead the opinion polls when it comes to the economy. Kemi still leads the opinion polls on who will make the best prime minister. There's 3 years to go. And the Labour Party are just coming through this psychodrama, the sorts of things we had last time when the Conservatives were in power. And Nigel Farage, you know, for one reason or another, and whether you play the ball or not the man, has some personal issues as well. Look, Kemi is 3 years to go. Kemi can be Prime Minister, and I think she'll be a great Prime Minister if she's elected in 3 years' time.
Paul Bristow, really good to have you on, mate. Sorry, it's a busy show this morning, but really appreciate it. Good to have you. We'll get you back, Mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, 20 to 8. Morning, Danny.
Good morning, Jeremy. So Badenoch apologises for the Conservatives completely wrecking the country, and that's all okay. We're supposed to forgive them. I wouldn't trust the likes of James Cleverly and Mel Stride to make the decisions that are needed to rescue this country. They're wet wipes and they'll never change, and we'll be in exactly the same position if this country votes Tory again.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 16 minutes to 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK on Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock. Brits 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. My next guest is my favourite guest. I meant a secret of it. News Corps Australia Europe correspondent Sophie Ellsworth. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Happy birthday.
Thanks, my darling. This is amongst all the seriousness of the world, with Farage being abused and Harry's a pain in the arse and all that's going on. This story from Australia just tickled me. Anthony Albanese. Let's make this as polite as possible because I got a clip. What went on? Because he's under fire, isn't he? What's going on?
He is under fire. He went on a podcast in the lodge in his official residence in Canberra and confirmed he wants to, I don't know if it's too early to say these words, but I'll try and keep it as clean as possible.
It's a game, isn't it? Do you want to date, marry or...
shag?
Brilliant. That's an Australian word for carnal lust. Is that a good way to describe it? Go to bed with. By the way, that's the whole thing. Go to bed with. Let's not get involved. You don't go to sleep, do you? Anyway, there you go. And he actually said he'd like to, in your words, Kylie Minogue.
Yes.
He said it on a podcast.
He said he would like to shag Kylie Minogue. I'm not misquoting him. He confirmed this.
If there are young ears listening, apologies, but that's the only word we can listen. This is a clip. Now, we've got the President of the United States phoning FIFA going, I don't think that man should get a red card, right? We've got the leader of Australia saying he'd like to go to bed with Kylie Minogue, and ours is going, oh, it's coming home, it's coming home. This is Anthony Albanese. This is brilliant, by the way. Have a listen.
Rapid fire questions. Now, every guest gets asked these. Shag, marry, date. Kylie Minogue, Nicole Kidman or Rhonda Birchmore?
I've just got married. I'm only 6 months in.
But if it goes up, let's just pretend.
Oh, Kylie, clearly.
You'd marry Kylie and shag her and date her?
All of the above.
All right, it's a triple.
She's terrific.
All right, that's fair.
Sorry, that's, I don't know, a genuine outrage in Australia?
Well, the interesting thing, Jeremy, is not exactly, it's partly what he said, but remembering that our Labor government in Australia is always banging on about being respectful to women, you know, fighting for women out there, making sure they're treated fairly. And now we've got our Prime Minister, the person who holds the highest office in the land, saying he wants to sleep with Kylie Minogue. It's quite incredible. And what is really interesting is the left side of the politics, who, if this was a Conservative politician, whether it was our former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, Tony Abbott, the outrage would be far and wide. This is really embarrassing for Anthony Albanese, and he put out a 6-word statement saying he's sorry, but he hasn't fronted the press pack yet. So can you imagine? We're in a cost of living crisis.
Absolutely.
And we're now talking about the Prime Minister wanting to shag Kylie Minogue.
And it's really interesting, actually, because as you said, Christian just keeps going, oh, God, you said, and you're right, I'm not saying it's a Labour thing across the world, but politics now, quite rightly, although I would argue has gone too far the other way. It's all about DEI and inclusivity and all that. And yes, absolutely, we should be respectful to women. And yes, absolutely, we should be respectful to all people. But it has got to the point where you can't even let off... I mean, anything you say now is taken the wrong way. But for a man and a party that talk about those things, it's like certain parties over here, they're very liberal and they talk about all the things. And, oh, you're shocking, you must be far right because you dare to say illegal immigrants. This is terribly racist. It's like somebody in a party over here saying something. So, yeah, he's deep in trouble. Does he recover from something like this or not? Can you get over something like this, sir?
I think, of course, he will get over it, but it's going to be a clip that their opponents, the coalition in Australia, will constantly pull out now and say this is how he speaks about women. And it is embarrassing for him. Jeremy, remembering this was on a podcast, this was in a controlled environment. He wasn't just someone came up to... Wasn't caught out. He knew what he was doing. He was sitting there very open. Now, the man has just trotted down the aisle for the second time. He got married last year. I wonder how his wife's feeling.
Sorry?
I wonder how his wife's feeling.
Well, have we heard? I'm not being disrespectful to Mrs. Albanese, but what has Kylie Minogue? Has she responded?
Well, I have approached Kylie Minogue. I haven't heard from Kylie Minogue's media people.
Come back on if Kylie... I mean, Kylie... listen, Kylie Minogue's been around as long as I have. She's brilliant, 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 brilliant. Be interesting to see. Because she's never got involved politically, has she, in Australia?
No, she's stayed out of it. But she's a pop icon, and, you know, that famous song, I Should Be So Lucky, well, Albo, as we've said in The Sun today, I Should Be So Sorry is the headline. He really owes probably Kylie Minogue a bit of an apology here, because this is quite embarrassing, and it's a double standards, Jeremy.
I've got a friend who said, I definitely see it with Kylie Minogue. What's he said that's wrong? Let's be honest, boys. He said, well, there you go. Well, let's just watch it again. This is the Australian Prime Minister. The Australian Prime Minister, who's Labour, who talks all the time about treating women with respect, thank you, Soph, as ever, on a podcast being asked to play... date, marry or sleep with. That's what I didn't want to say shag. Watch. Anyway, there we go.
Fire questions. Now, every guest gets asked these. Shag, marry, date. Kylie Minogue, Nicole Kidman or Rhonda Birchmore?
I've just got married. I'm only 6 months in.
But if it goes up, let's just pretend.
Oh, Kylie, clearly.
You'd marry Kylie and shag her and date her?
All of the above.
All right, it's a triple.
She's terrific.
All right, that's fair.
Oh, God, Soph, do me a favour, because we love having you on. Please, keep on at the Kylie. I would love to hear what Kylie Minogue thinks about this, and come back on, will you?
Of course, but what about Nicole Kidman and Rhonda Birchmore? How are they feeling?
Who's Rhonda Birchmore?
She's an entertainer, actress,
with a bloke's
singer.
name.
Yes, she's been around forever. But Nicole Kidman as well, one of our biggest Hollywood stars. How's she feeling? The Prime Minister said, no, I won't have you, I'll have Kylie. I mean, anyway, this is where the state of politics is at in Australia right now.
I love it. I don't want you to go anywhere. It's 10 to 8, because one of the other big news stories of the day, front page of the Current, King snaps at Harry, this psycho drama with the ginger one and his awful wife. Let's bring in legend, my boy, author of The Windsor Legacy, the man, Robert Jobson. Look at you, sir. Oh, the glasses are on. What's going on this morning, Jobson? You look like you're about to do a paint
I'm in
job.
the south of France. I've run away from Harry and his psychodrama and gone to the south of France. So,
but good enough to come on because it's my birthday, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. They said you wanted to talk to me, so well, there is only one person worth talking to, and it's Jeremy.
You're a legend. Robert, we've talked, Sophie is here from News Corps Australia as well. We have talked incessantly about this couple, the psychodrama, will he, won't he, should he, shan't he. I don't even understand, sorry, I want to put it out there, why he would even contemplate wanting to stay with his kids or not in a house that symbolises an institution that he and his wife called racist, for Christ's sake. The only reason they want that is because of relevance, isn't it? Because the brand's on its backside in America, and being seen in a royal residence with the old Netflix cameras looks good. What else?
You held up the paper there. It's on the front page of the biggest selling newspaper in the UK, and that's what it's all about. The way that it's been handled is purely about making sure that everything he does and says, and it's all part of the brand, keeps them current. Will they, won't they be part of Buckingham Palace, be at Buckingham Palace? I feel sorry for the King with this, because he's been played, I think. The Palace have realised too late that he's being played. And also today we've got the ruling coming back, I think, haven't we, against Associated Newspapers. I think it's all to do with the publicity and to make sure that he has got some currency for his brand.
And what's really interesting is I'd read, and you can tell me whether this is true, that Camilla and William are as one on this and don't want the King to be pulled from pillar to post. Obviously, he's a father, he's not well, all those sorts of things. And it's difficult as a father to think your kids are manipulative little gits. But the truth of the matter is, hopefully the King will wise up, because nothing that this couple do, separately or together, ever leads me to think that there isn't some motive behind it, or there's a camera crew behind a tree, or they're trying to get a deal, Rob. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the point with this really is that there's twofold. First of all, I think it is the courtiers have realised a bit too late, people like Sir Clive Alderton, a bit too late that Harry's playing them. And I think that they realise that you can't get involved in a situation whereby you could undermine the King's position constitutionally. And the reality is Harry's been suing the government over his security, and he's been he's dragging himself into this whole row. The king can't do that. He just can't get involved. Yet by offering him a place to stay, I think when he was told his grandchildren were coming, he was just doing the right thing. Look, if Harry is seriously worried about his security, where is his due planning? Where is his reconnaissance? If he thought there was a chance he wouldn't be coming to Buckingham Palace or staying at royal residence, where's all the planning for this trip? It seems to me highly suspect, because if he was coming to do this trip and he hadn't accepted the accommodation, what other plans has he got in place? What has his own security done?
And by the way, what about the question that she, of course, Madam Nightmare, she's not coming to London because it's not safe, but it's safe to go to either Birmingham for the Invictus launch or to go to Northamptonshire to see Diana's grave. So who made that decision, that if they're going to be allegedly under pressure or attacked or whatever, who says that they're not? It's ridiculous. It is a game, right?
There is no pre-planning gone on here. It's all a load of nonsense. And you're telling me, well, there's somewhere, I think, are they with Elton John or in Portugal or whatever they're doing? So that's more secure than, a royal palace that they didn't accept. And also it's blatant rudeness. The bottom line here is if any of my kids said, oh, they're going to come and stay with, if my son said he's going to come and stay with me, he'll let me know.
Yeah.
It's just how well you're brought up. You don't, if I offer, say, oh, yeah, you can stay, and then nobody responds, then the chances are that they're not going to come.
Absolutely agree. Where's he stayed, by the way? Because he touched down last night. Do we know where he is, or are we not allowed to say that?
Exactly. We don't know where he is, but it does appear to be at Buckingham Palace or a royal residence.
I'd love to don't go anywhere, Jobber, you're top man. Sophie Ellsworth, News Corp's Australia and Europe correspondent. What do the Aussies make of the debacle that is Harry and Meghan?
Well, the Aussies aren't a big fan of Harry and Meghan. We just had that tour where, I don't know what it was, a pretend royal tour where they came out to Australia. But they are causing the royal family so much harm because these stories make all the headlines in Australia. And I think, Jeremy, what is really sad here is you have a king who has cancer, who doesn't get to see his grandchildren.
Absolutely.
And there's this media circus because 1 minute they're coming, they're not coming. 1 minute they're staying, they're not staying. Where is he? Could be in an Airbnb somewhere in London. Who knows where he is? But why not put a focus on his good work and stop all these games that he seems to play?
I don't disagree with you. I'm not sure what good work. Just to bring Robert back in, and I completely agree with what you say. My problem is, apart from the psychodrama, and if I was in the royal family, I wouldn't believe a word they were saying because I think there would always be a motive. You want to what? Presumably see your dad because he's ill. You and I know, we all know this. If my dad, who was not ill, was ill, I wouldn't. Why announce it in the papers? Why not just go and see him? This whole debacle is for publicity, and here's something Kinsey Schofield has been saying for months. 2 words: Thomas Markle. If it's about your grandchildren seeing their grandparents, you've left a man in a hospital and you haven't had words with him for however many years. Would you not agree with that, Robert?
Yeah, but Jeremy, Thomas hasn't got millions of pounds, has he? So therefore, I think what we're dealing with here is a couple of have been described in the past as grifters, not inaccurately. I think that this is all about money. I think in the end of the day, they know that the king is not very well and that he's probably not got a long time to reign. And they want to try and sort out their money. But in the meantime, they're trying to play the victims here. And it's just a tobacco. I mean, the whole thing is a mess. It's like they're agents of chaos, they've been described as. The truth of it is, in all of these things, is that you've got the BBC going out live, saying, oh, they're staying at Buckingham Palace, and then having about less than an hour later having to say, no, they're not.
I know, I was doing...
counter-briefing and the briefing. How ridiculous is that making institutions in this country look? I mean, that's ridiculous. The BBC are buying into this nonsense that they're pumping out.
I couldn't agree more, mate. Listen, enjoy the south of France. We love having you on. Robert Jobson, author of The Windsor Legacy, thank you. And Sophie Ellsworth, News Corp Australia. Get on to Kylie Minogue. We're on that story as well. Almost 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Sarah Poaching from Reform after the news at 8, which is next.
current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up. I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party.
Well, you know what? In the end, he did do the right thing, and there were some achievements, and he's an honourable man, and he cared about public service. Guys, that's not what happened just now. In the last half an hour, Keir Starmer resigned, and he resigned because he was pushed. Most of his issues, most of the things which have damned him from, let's face it, within days, within weeks of him becoming Prime Minister back in July 2024, or of his own making. They were things he chose to do, cutting the winter fuel allowance, damning everybody who wanted to have a public inquiry on the grooming gangs as jumping onto the far-right bandwagon, the two-tier policing after the Southport riots. This man brought it on himself. He was not a good Prime Minister.
There was 2 things on that manifesto. One was a picture of Keir Starmer and the word change. Well, promise made and promise delivered in that sense. Let's be honest. But look, I mean, I don't really want to make light of it, but I am cheesed off, Julia, because what we promised in opposition was competence, and it's been anything but. I'm embarrassed. I'm really, truly, honestly, I am embarrassed, because I did think we would be competent. We've not been.
I've no idea whether there'll be a contest or a coronation. But what I do know is the British public have simply had enough of political parties chopping and changing their leaders at will. We vote for somebody in a general election to be our Prime Minister. We expect them to serve their term. And barring ill health or exceptional circumstances, what is going on here, frankly, is reminiscent of a banana republic that has totally devalued the very process of general elections and democracy. We at Reform demand a general election.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back or welcome along. Just gone 8 o'clock. It is, of course, Tuesday the 7th of July, and I am 61. And we say a very good morning. Listen, we've spoken to Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, Carl Turner, an independent MP who will go back to Labour under the auspices of the Andy Burnham takeover. We're now delighted to welcome the First Lady of Reform, who's come into the studio today because it's my birthday. Sarah Bochin!
I have. Happy birthday. Just to get a birthday kiss and to deliver in person your birthday card.
She said, I've got to do this. I got one from the team, 00 Old Grumpy Git.
Oh, harsh.
Thank you.
50 again is what I say. That's my mantra, 50
Lovely.
again.
61, mate, today.
You don't look it.
No, I can't move my face. Happy... No. To my favourite presenter, our favourite presenter, happy birthday, sexy bum.
I didn't know you were going to show it on the telly.
Of course I'm going to show it on the telly. David Lammy will probably complain.
Birthday boy.
Look at that, it says birthday boy. Does it look a bit reformed? Does it look Tory?
I
Does
did
it not...
choose the colour on purpose, obviously.
I will put that on. Listen, thank you so much indeed. And thank you, by the way, for coming in, because let's get to it, because there is an enormous... thing in the newspapers at the moment. We can talk about many things, but Nigel Farage and this story doesn't seem to go away. Let's just lay it out there. A few weeks ago, there was this story about the donation from the crypto billionaire, Christopher Harborne. Nigel's been reported to the Standards Committee, and we'll have to speak to them in the next couple of weeks. Over the weekend, there was another story about his friend with George Cottrell, a guy both of us know very well, and more accusations and lots of Labour and Conservative MPs jumping up and down talking about registers and transparency and all that sort of stuff. He's going to be called in front of that person again. Now, because I want to tell the story properly, I want to play you a clip from yesterday's show, because Poppy Coburn from Nothing, Deputy Content Editor of The Telegraph, gave one side of an argument that I think is really, really relevant, because a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. I've known Nigel Farage a long, long time. That doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and go, oh, because I don't know the ins and outs. But you have to consider every scenario. Listen to this, Sarah.
Let's not forget, this Labour government began with Lord Ali's donation scandal, where a man who was donating directly to politically affected officials was allowed to pick the selection of Labour MPs who had great influence over the direction of the party. So he literally paid, I'm sorry, it seems like it, he paid and then he got influence. So let's put that on the table. Leaving aside even the Peter Mandelson job, where, again, another seriously unsavoury individual who actually had great political influence and was best friends with a paedophile. So there's Labour. They are turning around and now saying, Nigel Farage, look at him, look how dirty he is, look how dirty his party is. This is someone who's given up 25 years of his life to fight against the establishment, who has got more death threats than any other politician. You don't hear that in the news, seriously. If he has taken this money before he was an MP from someone where there is no suggestion whatsoever that he's changed his opinion, OK? Nigel Farage has been completely consistent politically.
For 25 years.
For 25 years, for as long as I've been alive. He's known this person, a friend of his, for a very long time. This is not cash for questions, this is not cash for access, OK? This is someone basically saying, you're a friend and I need to support you because the state isn't stepping in and you're getting death threats. He can do with that money as he pleases, frankly. All of the stories that the Times is breaking as exclusive this weekend and the BBC is running on as exclusive breaking news is already out there. We've known this for years. Why is it coming up now? Why is it being repackaged now as breaking news?
Sarah, that is Poppy's opinion, and as I said to you, I want to do this in the right way. I want to add a caveat to what she just said. In April, Labour MPs voted against Keir Starmer. The House of Commons voted 335 to 223. It was a Conservative-led motion that said, because of the Mandelson thing, it's out of personal interest, he should have a parliamentary investigation to claims he misled MPs thrown out, right? So I'm not just taking Nigel Farage's side in any which way, but I think it's important to say this. Lots of people have come on here and talked about transparency and why didn't you declare it. Many hundreds of listeners have come on and said, I don't give a toss. The truth of the matter is, this is a man that we believe in. But this was his response yesterday when he climbed off a plane from Australia.
Was it a mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir?
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you to serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Mistake not to declare the gifts, sir.
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
Sarah Pochin, your take on this situation, which is there's also questions on timing as well.
Look, Jeremy, the establishment is absolutely terrified of Nigel Farage. They can see the popularity of Nigel. They can see that the nation is behind Nigel, and they're terrified. And we knew that this was going to start to happen as we get closer to a general election. Inevitably, it could be very quick. It could be they could stay the distance for the next 3 years. But the point is, we know that we are going to be, scrutinised to death, and we are expecting it. But this is just another witch hunt by the establishment terrified that reform, they can see us coming. What I would say is that when you go after family, then that is a step too far.
Yeah, I mean, this story that Sky have denied, by the way, won't go away, and obviously more will come out. And listen, there is transparency and there is an argument that says, if you knew, why didn't you declare? Nigel's response is, this was before I came an MP. The Standards Committee will make their decision. But I also know Nigel Farage, I don't care, and I'll say this to anybody, I know Nigel Farage well enough to know that that face, when he got off that plane, something's gone on that is not palatable. I don't care. This man's taken bashings for 25 years. Something has gone on that is not acceptable in terms of how a certain part of the press have behaved, and that will come out. Let's get a voice note. You'll like this, Sarah. This will be interesting. Mick, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Happy birthday, mate. Don't look 61 at all. Obviously, I've got my fingers crossed. Anyway, in relation to Farage, mate, just a question. How many multi-millionaires have we got in Labour and the other parties that have been MPs for years on a pretty average salary, yet they've got personal wealth of millions? How did that happen? Let's have an investigation into that. You've been on 70, 80, 90,000 pounds for 5 years, but you are a multi-millionaire if we look into you. Happy birthday, Jez. Good to see you on the TV, mate.
A lot of people saying that there is some interest in the timing of these challenges, just as Andy Burnham, Coronation Chicken, as I call him, is going to walk into 10 Downing Street. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, you know, I think we're going to be hugely disappointed in Andy Burnham. I think Andy Burnham's bubble is going to burst within weeks. He has not got any, you know, policies. He won't even let the press question him on his stance on energy, his stance on the welfare, the ballooning welfare bill. We've heard nothing. What we did hear worryingly yesterday was that he thinks he's going to the Chagos deal is going to come back, and I was reading that he supports the 35 billion that we can suddenly find for the Chagos deal. So look, Andy Burnham is all over the place. As I say, the Burnham bubble will burst within weeks, and I think the people of the country that support Burnham will realise very quickly that it's just a Starmer on steroids.
Well, I don't disagree, but I'm not sure it is the people in the country, because the people haven't had a choice. 21,000 people listening, listen, I should say, have voted for him to be the Makerfield MP. I accept that. I accept that he's sort of seen as the darling of the Labour Party and probably a bit Boris-esque in terms of Labour. But the truth of the matter is, I said it half an hour ago, there are four main things that any politician that walks through the doors of 10 Downing Street has to acknowledge, whether it's in their manifesto or not. If you know this from Runcorn and Helsby. If you went to the doorsteps, they would say, how are you going to stop the boats?
Yep.
How are you going to do something about a welfare benefits bill that is so bloody large, right, that we're now paying out more to people than we are getting tax in? Today, that story, the Times reporting that over 100,000 people get benefits for ADHD, right? Now, I've got a member of my family with ADHD, but this person grafts every single day. That's an insult. So I don't think, I mean, I think if he's clever, he'd go to the Labour backbench and say, I'm going to cut it, but they won't let him do that. Energy, drilling. We've got this natural resource and we're paying billions in interest on debts we can't afford. Drill in the North Sea, you total idiot. We're buying it off Norway, who are drilling in the same field. That won't happen under them. You've just said about the Chagos. And a national inquiry that eviscerates all the BS about the grooming gangs, the rape gang inquiries, and deals with people. But all of those things, is Andy Burnham going to do that? Of course he isn't. He's going to be Keir Starmer, as you said, Mark II. That's it.
And look, yesterday in the chamber, the business went from one crisis to another. So we had the whole issue of Ahmed, this vile child predator, and
is this the one that was released?
The one that was released was on our streets.
Can I give a shout out to Alex Phillips? I was in the car on Saturday, and or maybe it was Friday, and I've forgotten what day it says, 61. Unbelievable what she said, and she said it so brilliant if you can find it online. it was really interesting, wasn't it, that this Labour government under Starmer and probably under Burnham could instigate emergency legislation to keep the pubs open till 5 a.m. so that England fans could watch us play Mexico, but they can't instigate emergency legislation to get that piece of crap out of our country. Fact.
And they can.
Great,
they
Alex.
could change the law. So it's about the will. Like everything else, it's about the will of the government. They could change the law. They could get this vile individual out, take him to the Pakistani border and leave him there. That's what I'd do if I was in charge.
But that's racist, Sarah Poachin.
Well, do you know what? I think the British people have absolutely had enough of people like me being called racist when all we want to do is get scum like that off our streets and back to
that's the point. We can't say it because he's a British Pakistani man. Can I just say what I said about Isla Bryson, who raped 2 women and was sent to an all-female jail because he put a wig on and a pair of tights? It doesn't matter in this instance that he's British Pakistani. It matters only because that is the reason the government are doing nothing about it, because they're terrified of upsetting a certain section of society.
I asked yesterday,
raped children.
I asked yesterday directly of the minister answering the questions yesterday, how many other people are in this country currently who we've stripped of their British citizenship, but we haven't deported because of their human rights? What about the human rights of the rape victims?
Absolutely.
How many are there here? And do you know what he said? None. So that is going to be very interesting because we're going to look into that. I cannot believe that, well, I'm sure if the minister said that, it must be true. Let's leave it at that. But we will be looking at that. He assured the House that there are no other individuals like Ahmed that are currently in this country.
I don't think that's true,
is
it? Or am I allowed to say, that? Do we have to?
We'll be looking into that. But and then we go on in the chamber. Of course, we talked about defence. And you just mentioned the ADHD and the welfare bill. Well, yesterday I made the point again in the chamber. How is it that how do we explain to NATO, to our NATO allies, where Starmer is at the moment, probably just hiding under a desk, because what's the point of Starmer even going? But the fact is that our ballooning welfare benefits bill will go up by £19 billion this year alone.
Yep.
We've spent £13 billion on foreign aid. We've set aside £15 billion for net zero projects, and yet there's still a £4.7 billion gap in the defence investment plan. How is that possible? And by the way, that defence investment plan is not even up to the 3.5% it should be by now, and would be under a reform government. And the reason that reform will be able to do that is we will stop the list I've just given you. We will stop this ballooning benefits bill.
I don't understand, Sarah, which is why I've always been, since you guys rose up, I've been totally straight about it. I try and do the show as balanced as possible. I don't understand why certain sections of our society can never have a discussion about welfare without, Carl Turner said it, savage cuts. It's not a savage cut to say to people who are gaming the system and are not working and have decided to make a career out of signing on that you're taking and you're going to be held to account. The point that none of them ever make is you're taking money away from the genuine hardship cases that we're all happy to pay for. They never explain it. If you talk about welfare cuts, they go, oh, what about the poor, mentally ill and disabled people? Yes, those people should be supported, but they are missing out, are they not, Sarah Poachin, because people are gaming the system?
I have people, employers in my constituency, that are looking for to expand. And do you know what? They have people coming in and saying, we can give you 12 hours, but after that, it affects my benefits. So I can give you 12 hours a week. How is it possible that we are in a country where someone will come in and offer an employer 12 hours a week? So employers like DHL in Runcorn, who want to double in size, double in size, and they are struggling to attract employees because it affects their benefits payments. How is that possible, Jeremy? Something has to be done, but the Labour government will never do it. Andy Burnham will be worse. Taxation is going to go through the roof, and it's going to be all the stealth taxes.
The only way that the Labour Party can finance that shortcut, because they will not cut benefits under Burnham, will be to increase middle-class taxes. Because if you look back at history, this isn't pro the Liberals or Tories or Reform. This is a fact about Labour. If you go back in history, and I'm old enough, obviously, they will only, in the end, pay for all the money that they spend on everything that they think's important by raising people's questions. We've got some listeners' questions, if it's all right. I said this yesterday, that if there is a by-election call, a recall petition for a by-election in Clacton, I think Nigel will get an increased majority. Would you, in your mind, see that he'd win if he had to face one?
I 100% agree with you. He will win and he will get an increased majority. And the reason is because British people can see, as I started this interview, that the establishment is afraid of Nigel. They're afraid of, it's afraid of reform, because they know that people like me, people like Nigel, represent the views of the British people. British people have had enough of the state of the country, and all their hopes are pinned on reform to get this country back. So Clacton by-election, you know what, it's going to be a distraction. It's going to be another expense.
Do you think there will be a by-election, somebody's asking, or not? I mean, I guess if they find him guilty, the Standards
Committee... That's down to the Standards Committee, and those are powers that be that obviously they will judge accordingly and according to the rules.
But there are millions of people in this country that will be concerned that will be a stitch-up because of the fear of the establishment. It's a question that a lot of people have asked, and I appreciate you've come here to be honest. People are concerned, having seen that video, that Nigel might jack it in. Do you think he's here to stay?
Oh, 100%. Nigel has given the last 25, 30 years of his life, if not longer, to this mission. He's never changed his story. The great thing about Nigel is he's a consistent politician. There's not many of those around. I mean, how many U-turns did Starmer do in his 2 years?
17.
Well, there you go. Nigel does not change his story, does not change his rhetoric. He is going absolutely nowhere. His MPs are behind him, the party is behind him, and ever increasingly the British people are behind him. They can see that the establishment is afraid. And yesterday, and the third thing I was going to mention about the Commons yesterday is, of course, this panic by Labour to stop foreign donations to parties. Well, you know, how interesting, because the Labour Party itself received £4 million from an offshore hedge fund in the Cayman Islands. That wasn't mentioned yesterday.
What about the Tories and that Russian oligarch as a lord? Honestly, and I'm not... If you're going to change the rules, and that's why people will have concerns about this. I want to say as a mate, we talked about something off air. I really want to play that, but if you don't want me to, because I thought the other day, and tell me if you don't want to, the clip of you in the Commons.
No, it's fine, obviously.
A lot of people say to me about you that you're great on the media rounds, but that you clip. The other day, you describe it if you want, but it was a Commons debate about adoption.
It was about adoption, that so many women suffered with, they call it forced adoption. So basically, in the sort of 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, obviously it was so unacceptable.
If you had a baby out of wedlock.
If you had a baby, exactly, and shameful. And I wanted to speak on this subject because it was personal to me. I found out after my mum died, because her sister's still alive, and she told me that my mum had been in that situation.
Wow.
She'd had a baby before she was married with a married man. He obviously went off, disappeared, and my mum in the 60s was left with a baby, and the church handled her adoption. I even found the church, rang the church, and they said, oh, they didn't keep any records. So this was all handled by the church, and my poor mum never, ever was able to talk to me about it because it was a secret she took to her grave. I think because my dad, who she married later, probably never knew.
What was astonishing about this, and I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't, if you said no, I'd prefer you not to, but you didn't know that you'd respond like this, but this was for your mum, and this is, and anybody at Reform HQ, this is proper honesty, this is, and this lady, brilliant. You don't mind me playing it?
No, play it.
So Sarah the other day in the Commons.
My own mother was pressurised into giving up a baby for adoption, and this was handled by the church. I only found out after her death. She carried her secret to her grave. When I found out, I tried to find my sibling, but drew a blank. I had to pay privately to find him, and we've now been united. Can the Prime Minister assure those affected that the new systems and resources will be given the funding they need to reunite families?
Can I thank her for sharing that personal story, and we can all see just how difficult that must have been.
I really admired you for doing that, for all those women who were put through that in the 60s, and I've done stories about that in the past. You didn't know you were going to react like that at all, did you?
No, do you know what? I love speaking in the chamber. I just thought I'd be able to stand up. And actually, I had more to say to the Prime Minister. I was trying to make sure and make the point that people that can't afford to pay to find their siblings or half-siblings have the funding available through this new scheme. And I really wanted to make that very, very strong point. And I couldn't believe how I reacted. I stood up and for the first time ever froze, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to sit back down. And I think Mum from above must have come down and just given me a boost because I managed to squeeze the words out. But it is an important story, and thank goodness society has changed, and now nobody bats an eyelid if someone is a single mum, and as hard as it must be to be a single mum, it is acceptable now, thank goodness. But I just wish I'd had known when Mum was alive. I wish we could have talked about it. And also, I've now found my half-sibling, and I wish Mum could see us all together.
So you're reunited?
Yeah, we are united, and it's been lovely. And he looks like my mum. And
he's not a lefty, though, is he? He's not
he's a massive Reform supporter.
Oh, there you go. Listen, I thought that was really brilliant. And you know me, I love having you on. You're such a brave lady, but more than that, you're a very honest lady. And great words there about Nigel, an acknowledgement of what's going on, but the fight continues, right?
100%. We are going nowhere. Nigel is going nowhere.
I'll put my badge on that she bought me with a little thing, birthday boy. Sarah Poachin, we love you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
8:25, always. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Let's shoot straight to College Green if we can. The Shadow Justice Minister is Kieran Mullen MP, the Conservative for Bexhill and Battle. I've got a great story about Bexhill, Kieran Mullen. How are you, sir?
Really?
Do you want to hear it or not?
Thanks for having me on.
Do you want to hear it or not?
Yeah, sure.
I was 20 years of age. I was 20 years of age. I was at university, and a girl who I'd been chasing for 6 months said, "Let's go away for the weekend to my nan's house, a cottage in Battle." Down in your area. Okay, very nice. And and so we got the coach from Victoria, £9 return, and I had stomachache when I got on, and they stopped the bus at Battle. I had an appendix that burst, and I spent 10 weeks in the Royal East Sussex Hospital, which is now closed, and I never got to have my nice weekend in Battle, and that's why I know Battle very well. So there you are, I shared it with you, my friend.
Well, you should go back now, Jeremy. It's a great time to visit. We've got the Bayeux Tapestry coming to London later this year, which obviously at Battle Abbey is a great part of that history. So what a time. You could go and see the Bayeux Tapestry in the British Museum, and then come on down to Battle, which I know so many people are going to be doing, to see the history in real life.
Good man. Kieran, Shadow Justice Secretary, our justice system's on its backside, isn't it, to be fair, in this country?
Well, Minister, rather. You've given me a slight promotion there, Jeremy. What we're focusing on today, which I think your viewers will be really interested in, and I think care a lot about, is the fact that the Labour Party in government are planning to release potentially thousands of extremely serious offenders like rapists, grooming gang perpetrators out of prison earlier than they otherwise were going to be released. We've heard from so many victims, thousands of victims, who've received letters from the government telling them this is going to happen. We're bringing some of those victims to Parliament today to meet with MPs. We're actually going to meet with Kemi, the Conservative leader, and we're putting it to a vote so that all of the public can know what side their MPs are on. Are they on the side of victims of grooming gangs and rape and other really serious sexual offences, or are they on the side of those perpetrators getting out of prison earlier? I know what side I'm on. I encourage all of your viewers to contact their local MP, ask them how they're going to vote today, and tell them what they think about it.
Listen, I can't put into words what I think of any policy that seems... I mean, I've been long an advocate, Kieran, for if you get 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years or 20 years, you should serve the time. We have this ludicrous situation where our government will say, well, let people out, and serious criminals as well, because we need space. Well, build more prisons. Do something about the welfare benefits bill and build more prisons. Do something about the foreign aid budget, build more prisons. For me, when I said to you our justice system is screwed, if you commit a crime, you do your time. You don't get out after 40% of the time. I mean, and you touched upon the grooming gang. I mean, that revolting human being that was released the other day, he did 14 years. He should have concurrently was serving 41. That makes a mockery, and you're damn right. We need to know who's in our society. But we need a whole rethink, I think, on how long people serve. And you remember after Southport? I mean, the Prime Minister managed to find 6,000 extra police, judges who worked on a Saturday in prison spaces because he threw serious criminals out on the streets. Build more prisons. Would a Tory government build more prisons?
Yes. So we have more than 10,000 foreign national offenders in our prisons as well, and we are working right now on a very considered plan for how we will not just build more prison places, but get better value for the money that we spend on prison places. But in the short term, you're right to say that people do already get let out earlier than they ordinarily would. I never want to see that happen, and when we were in government, we actually increased the length of time serious offenders had to spend in prison. But the thing that is really important for people to know is that normally those early release schemes that we use, as you say, it would be ideal if we didn't have to, but they do get used. But those schemes normally exclude serious offenders, including serious sexual offenders. This government is making a choice not to do that. They're choosing to let out those people on this occasion. I think that's terrible. I think that's a betrayal of the victims. I think it's going to lead to extra crimes. I'm sure some of these people will go on to commit offences when they should have been in prison. And so, as I've said, we want every MP to make it clear where they stand on this issue. And I would really strongly encourage all of your viewers to take the time to go online, look up their MP, email them and say that they want them to vote in support of keeping these people inside rather than letting them out even earlier, which is just completely wrong.
Couldn't agree more with that. But of course, with that there come questions, and we are always delighted to see CHQ has somebody every day, and we appreciate that. But a couple of people have already noted something that I was going to ask you. Quite rightly, we should maintain that sexual offenders are not allowed out to roam free. And I know, because I heard it numerous times, that Tory party has changed from the past. But you had 14 years, and I have labelled this on the Labour Party, and I have to also include the past in the Tory party. The fact there has not been a national grooming/rape gang inquiry for those sexual predators and the victims you talk about. Why did successive Tory governments not call one? Because I tell you, from our point of view, whether it's Labour or Tory, and I'm laying it at both people's doors, I consider it one of the biggest stains on this society, Kieran. I think it's outrageous that there hasn't been an inquiry. I really do.
Jeremy, I understand. First of all, I want to say it's clear that we didn't do enough about this issue in government. There were people raising these issues. We did, in the end, commission a review that led to the inquiry that we've seen, and we put it to a vote to get an inquiry several times in Parliament, and Labour MPs blocked it. So I think we recognise that we should have done more, and I think that's a fair comment to make. But then we realised that we had to have an inquiry, like you said, and we pushed as hard as we could to get that inquiry. Actually, some of the victims that are coming to Parliament today to talk about their experiences and the fact their perpetrators are getting out early are the sort of people affected by that. And I think we, as a whole country, we have to reflect on why we didn't do enough. There were Labour MPs, at the time, who were bullied, threatened, intimidated by their local parties and other people for raising this issue. Sarah Champion, another Labour MP who spoke out about this issue and was subject to terrible treatment. So I recognise we got things wrong, but actually we've been really trying our best to bring this issue to the forefront now, get that inquiry, and the government is dragging its feet. It was dragging its feet on whether or not to have one. It's been dragging its feet now on the actual conduct of the inquiry as well.
And I just want to encapsulate, and I'm good. It's great to meet you and have you on. I had Matt Vickers on this morning, Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, and he... It's really interesting because he's been doing this with me for a year. And when he first came on, he'd be banging his head against the wall, bless him, and people would be going, you're toxic, your brand's toxic. Things have changed. So Kemi Badenoch now is gaining traction, but the brand is still in a difficult position. But I just wanted to ask you, yesterday, she said the Tories are very sorry for their record on immigration. The numbers are coming down. We took time, we took stock. And we want you to forgive us. Do you believe, I guess you're sorry in immigration too, but do you believe that something's turning? Do you think more people in Britain are listening to the Tories under Badenoch than before, Kieran?
Absolutely. I was knocking on doors just at the weekend. People are full of praise for the strong leadership, the backbone, I would say, that Kemi shows, in contrast to Keir Starmer, flip-flopped all over the place, wasn't a strong leader. We'll have to wait and see what Andy Burnham comes up with, but so far it seems to be just vibes and Manchesterism, whatever that actually means in terms of a government plan. People respect Kemi, and actually it's about all of us as MPs showing people that we've got her back. We're there behind her. We're going to deliver on those thought-through but tough policies, for example, on immigration, credible policies. You know, it's all very well and good to complain, to say there are problems, but you need promises that you're going to make that you can keep. And she's very clear with me as a Justice Minister and the whole team that we should be thinking carefully about what promises we're going to make and make sure that we can keep them, because the British public have had enough of people saying they're going to do things and then not delivering. And so she's right to apologise for where we did that in the past, and she's right to have all of us as her team focused on making sure in future people can trust what we can say and what we're going to do in government.
Kieran, really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man this morning. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on Talk Breakfast. Kieran Mullen, the Shadow Justice Secretary and MP for Bexhill and Battle, 25 to 9. This hour, Lord Daniel Hannan, independent peer. He'll be on the show. We'll also talk sport as well. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Morning, Rob.
Morning, Jez. I'm on an aeroplane headed to Mallorca. I'm flying out, but I'm going to come back via Dover on a dinghy because I fancy a change of house, and my mobile phone's nearly knackered. I'm hoping they'll give us a new one. So yeah, I won't be at my old address anymore when I come back. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but it's free, so I'm just going to take it. Happy birthday, mate. Bye.
The thing that most makes me angry about Keir Starmer talking about the need to defend our country, and he's gone out of his way to not make the tough decisions to actually do the thing to defend our nation. It's cowardly, and I think it's treacherous.
Nothing to say on immigration, nothing to say on benefits, nothing to say on jobs, nothing to say on tax. Absolutely appalling. If this is the solution the country's been waiting for, then we are in a very, very bad place.
People up and down the country are asking why they are always being put second. They work every day, they get up, they pay their bills, they look after their kids, and yet the other side of the social contract is not being held up.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 23 minutes to 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Of all the people that I could have on FaceTime to be wishing me happy birthday, and he does very quickly, he's in bed. Big Steve from the Jeremy Kyle Show's still alive. Good. Are you all right, mate?
Thank you, Jez. Yeah, I'm brilliant, thank you.
Good man. And is it true you just woken up because you've retired?
Yeah.
Get out of bed, man. I need you. I'll tell you more later. Big Steve, we love you. Thank you very much indeed. He's a legend. Thank you, Mr. Kyle. Thank you, Mr. Brilliant. And Dave Levine, could I just point out, I mean, if you want to insult me, I mean, let's just read this out. Listen to this. This is outrageous. Happy birthday, mate. Don't put your back out under the weight of all those cards from all your kids and grandkids, because there's quite a lot of them, to be fair, isn't there? 03444 499 1000. Good morning, Jez. So Kemi Badenoch has the audacity to now say that they are the only party who have a plan for illegal migration inflation and the epidemic that it's causing. Why do they constantly have to lie? Nigel Farage has been consistently telling us their plan for years. That is John in Poole. Kim Russell from Devises. This is the story about the Australian Prime Minister. I don't know about this, Anthony Albanese, that we did earlier, who got conned. Well, he didn't get conned. He was on a podcast at his home, and this woman asked him, how do I put this politely, if he would date, marry or sleep with anybody famous, named 3 actresses, and he said Kylie Minogue, which has caused him to be accused of all sorts of things. Kim Russell from Devises. I feel sorry for the Australian PM. He was asked a question and he answered it honestly. I know that it's something as rare as a rocking horse, but it's refreshing to hear at least one honest politician. Thank you very much indeed. She says you look 41, not 61. Let's say a very good morning to the independent peer and director of the Institute of Economic Affairs. I love having him on. Good morning, Lord Daniel Hannan. How are you?
Good morning, my dear Jeremy, and many happy returns of the day.
You know when you get a lord on your show saying happy birthday, that makes one feel so much better. Good to have you on, Daniel. Thank you. So much to ask you. I guess we should start Farage. You know the story, the listeners know the story. It started with the $5 billion from the crypto billionaire. It's gone on to this friendship with George Cottrell, who I know. It's interesting because what's happened is the Labour and Conservative parties have jumped up and down and said, transparency, there's got to be a problem here. And I've been very honest about where I sided, both sides. We've had all sorts of people from all sorts of political sides on today. I would only say this, whether, you know, his vote will continue and those people will see it as an establishment stitch-up. That's both sides of the coin. I saw the clip when he climbed off the jet last night and made the accusation to Sky about his family. I know Nigel Farage well enough, and I mean this, there has to be more to this because I've never seen him react like that. That is my honest opinion.
Yeah, he's definitely looking much more angry and rattled than I've ever seen him. And like you, I know him very well. We covered the same patch in the European Parliament for 21 years. I mean, there's no question that this story is damaging. I don't think there is anyone in the Reform Party who would say that it's been a good couple of weeks for them. The whole appeal of Nigel Farage is that he's different from all the other politicians. He's got this kind of everyman appeal, and the allegation of taking a load of money from dodgy rich people is obviously painful. But I think what he will be hoping for is that this turns into a formal charge, a formal condemnation from the Parliamentary Standards Authority that might trigger a by-election. Yep. Because then he's back on the very comfortable territory of the whole establishment is out to get me. Yeah. And like Donald Trump, he will turn that into the new narrative so that people really lose interest in the original issue of why were people giving him money, and it becomes about Nigel taking on the machine. So the best thing that can happen to him, paradoxically, is that the parliamentary committee finds against him.
I actually couldn't agree more. I said it earlier on the show. I think if there is a by-election triggered by a recall petition, he would win that with an increased majority. And this is where I think his opponents need to be very careful, because so much that I see, Daniel, or hear, is politicians of all parties ignoring what I call the silent majority. Now, whether one agrees with the silent majority or not, I know that if you knocked on 1 million doors in this country, top to bottom, left to right, they would probably, those people, talk about 4 things. They would talk about illegal migration and how you stop the boats. They would talk about the madness of net zero, which is causing energy bills that are impacting on people's lives and businesses, and why are we not drilling? They would undoubtedly talk about the bloated welfare benefits bill and how we seem to not look after our own, and they'd probably, quite rightly, not be able to understand why a national grooming gang rape inquiry hasn't been called by successive governments. And you're right. I think that Nigel Farage is probably at his best a bit like Trump when he's out there on the hoof talking to people. But I do think that the politicians who quite rightly are jumping up and down and going, oh, transparency, and are condemning him, need to be careful what they wish for. Of course, there's also the conspiracy theorists. A lot of people are saying to me, is it not interesting that nobody's now talking about Burnham, who's going to be sort of coronated in 10 days' time without an election by you know, 12 days ago wasn't even an MP, and this takes the news cycle away. What are your thoughts on that? It's true.
Well, I mean, a couple of things. First, I should, I suppose, claim some responsibility for the mechanism that can trigger a by-election, because I was one of a group of people proposing recall in the early 2000s, that there should be a mechanism for enough local people to be a high enough threshold that you couldn't do it trivially to trigger a recall in a sitting MP. We thought this would be a very good way of making sure that MPs had to listen to their constituents instead of only following their whips. Now, David Cameron liked that idea, put it in the 2010 manifesto, but then the rats got at it, and they added a clause to say that you can only get to the recall vote if you have been found guilty of malpractice by a parliamentary committee, which of course is the opposite of what we'd intended, because it then allowed a group of MPs in practice to get rid of one of their colleagues.
Mark their own homework.
Well, worse than that, mark their political opponent's homework. Yeah. And so we created this situation where an MP can effectively be dropped in it by a parliamentary committee. And this had huge constitutional significance, because, of course, this was the mechanism that led to the downfall of Boris Johnson and his removal in the end from Parliament. So I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if Nigel just calls a by-election on his own initiative just to draw a line onto this. But on the other point you made about why are we not talking about the incoming Prime Minister, this is a mistake we made 2 years ago.
Yep.
We were so determined, for perfectly understandable reasons, to get rid of the last Tory government that we didn't really care what Keir Starmer was going to do as long as he wasn't the Tories. And provided he could just kind of turn up to the hustings meetings without tripping over his shoelaces, that was all that he needed to do. And then, of course, once he'd got there, we discovered all sorts of things that he was doing that were very unpopular. And I find it incredible that we are repeating, particularly that our media are repeating exactly the same pattern of behaviour now, not probing what's going to be different under a new Prime Minister.
Do you know what, Dan? And I'm so glad you made that point, because, you know, it's very easy. People will say about ourselves and the other station, GB, they'll go, oh, well, come on, you know, it's you just want Starmer out. No, I'm a patriot. And when the Tories failed miserably after 14 years, it became so toxic that, frankly, Keir Starmer didn't have to say anything. I wanted him to succeed. I was so hacked off with the mess of before. But actually, you're absolutely right. We didn't know the debacle that was going to unfold. Andy Burnham, right, in my humble opinion, doesn't have a mandate to govern. Now, I've had arguments with Tories about this. I've said it, a lot of people disagree. I don't believe an MP should be able to defect without holding a by-election. I don't believe a Prime Minister should be able to become the Prime Minister without taking that to the British people. The Tories did it. I thought it was wrong. Labour have done it, and I think it was wrong. I understand to a degree that 400 MPs have looked at those local elections and gone, we're screwed. So we're going to call upon the Messiah, the sort of Boris of the Labour Party. I don't believe that Andy Burnham has a magic touch. Now, he might be a conviction politician who will grab those 400 MPs and say, if you want to keep your jobs and you don't want to let reform in, or you don't want to let a right-wing thing in, you're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to start drilling in the North Sea, or I'm going to put the Navy in the Channel, or I'm going to cut benefits. But your face and my face know the truth. There's no way on God's green earth that Andy Burnham will do that. What he will do, as every Labour Prime Minister has done in the past, is raise taxes on Middle England. And you and I both know that. And you're right, in a year or 6 months or 2 years, everybody will be going, how the hell did this man get up 10 Downing Street? I really fervently believe it.
Which is why I wouldn't completely rule out the prospect of an earlier election. I mean,
is that why certain parts of the media are going after Farage so that Burnham can call an election right now?
No, I don't think there's a conspiracy there. I don't think the Sunday Times is kind of attached to any political party. But I think it would be, if I were Andy Burnham, I would call an earlier election. Even, I mean, you'd be sacrificing a couple of hundred MPs for 5 years in power.
Yeah. And do you think he'd win right now? Do you think he'd win right now, Dan?
It's impossible to know. Things are so volatile. But I'll tell you what, I think the right is basically not prepared for an election. So if I were Kemi, I would be hopping up and down every day demanding an immediate election so as to make it harder, right? Because let's flip this around, right? If you're Andy Burnham and you've come in, or any Prime Minister who comes in now, you are going to be told on your first day in office what our fiscal situation is. You are going to be told that in the November budget, you are going to have to make cuts and raise taxes. Now, you know, a Labour government that doesn't have goodies to hand out is never a very popular government. So there has got to be a temptation, and we know that Andy Burnham is a gambler. He went for the Makerfield election. There's got to be a temptation to get yourself a mandate. Now, I happen to think, I agree with you, Jeremy, I think that is also the constitutionally correct thing to do. It may not be a requirement, but it is a sign of respect to the electorate, and I think the electorate would see it as a decent thing to do. But I also think it may be the least bad moment for an incoming Prime Minister to go. Things are not great, but they're not going to get any better, because we're in a doom loop where we're taxing more, spending more, borrowing more, and all of this is pushing our growth level down through the floor.
I genuinely couldn't disagree with you. Can I ask you a question? Somebody just texted me. The parliamentary committee that you talked about that will look at the ethics committee, you didn't want that when you suggested a recall, but they've changed the caveat so that an MP that's found or there's accusations has to appear in front of a committee of MPs. Is that cross-party?
Yes. So
does Reform have a member? Does Reform have a member on that committee?
No, because Reform's only got 6 MPs or whatever it is, so it's proportionate. But by the way, absurd that Reform doesn't have any members of the House of Lords, but that's another topic. No, my original idea had been to do what they do in the US, where, and in some other countries, where if you have behaved badly, or you have completely reneged on what you promised at the election, a group of your constituents, if enough of them sign a petition, as I say, with quite a high threshold, that would trigger a by-election. You'd be allowed to stand in the by-election, and if you won, then you wouldn't have to do you'd get a sort of grace period where they couldn't do it again for a bit. When that got into the legislative machine, MPs began to panic at the idea of a recall vote. So they changed the proposal to say the recall can only be triggered following a negative finding by the Parliamentary Standards Committee. And that effectively puts into the hands of the, I think, 5 MPs who sit on this committee, in practice, the ability to finger anyone that they don't like and get, because once you've been condemned, it's quite difficult to win a by-election.
Very quickly, and we love having you on the show and we appreciate your time. Does Nigel Farage survive this, Daniel, in your opinion?
Oh, I mean, never underestimate Nigel Farage. He's a very resilient politician. But equally, there's no question that this is damaging him. I think you're seeing that in the polls. I think you're seeing that in his own personal reaction. And I'm beginning to hear it a little bit in what some of my Reform friends are saying. They are beginning to plan for a succession in a way that would have been very hard to imagine 2 or 3 months ago.
All right, my friend, thank you so much indeed. Appreciate the birthday wishes. Great to have you on. Director of the Institute of Economic Affairs, independent peer, Lord Daniel Hannan. If you've got young ears, cover them or switch them off. Voice note, Michelle, good morning.
Hi, Jeremy. I'm really disappointed in you. Making a big thing about the shag, marry, snog thing with Kylie Minogue. It was hypothetical. It was just a hypothetical game. You did nothing wrong at all. I mean, have you gone woke or something, Jeremy? I'm so disappointed in you. Yeah, nothing wrong at all. A hypothetical game, a bit of fun. So, yeah, you've gone down in my estimation. Maybe you should join Labour Party. Anyway, happy birthday for yesterday. It's my anniversary today and my husband's been really horrible to me. It's Michelle from Rutland.
Right, Michelle, few things. If he's been horrible on your anniversary, he's the wrong person to be married to. It's my birthday today. I didn't say it was outrageous. I said that a man who stands up for the Labour Party and talks about DEI and all that in Australia will be absolutely sorted. I said you have to be careful. You could never accuse me of being careful. Happy anniversary, anyway, for yesterday. Oh, it was today. I got it wrong. Back in 3.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6 minutes to 9. Push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Let's go to Samuel Luckhurst from The Sun, the current bun, just brilliant with everything to do with the World Cup. Morning, Samuel.
Good morning, Jeremy. Thank you for having me on again.
Always a pleasure. Listen, I've become the person for now. All the negativity's gone out the window. We're going to win the World Cup. How can the Norwegians do that rowing thing? They came to this country outrageous. We're going to thrash them. We're going to get to the final. France are going to have an off day. But let's talk about the main news story from the World Cup. Donald Trump phones up FIFA and says, you can't, I don't know what a red card is, but you can't ban our man, and then egg all over his face because America gets dumped out by Belgium 4-1, pal.
Yeah, a pretty extraordinary news story, even for World Cup standards. And when Belgium went out to Senegal, I think that not a lot of neutrals were probably not pleased about that. Senegal were the more enterprising side. Belgium have looked quite methodical, but clearly there was a hell of a lot of goodwill towards them before that game in the early hours of this morning, and they've absolutely pummeled the States. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. US were playing pretty well. They were certainly the favourites for that, but now you have to look at this whole Balogun farce and wonder whether it did affect them, and certainly the salary that Monsieur Pochettino, that a couple of billionaires had stumped up for him to get the States back to a World Cup quarter-final for the first time since 2002, it would have been. They've not managed to do that. So in the end, it's all just blown up in their face.
What about looking forward? England quarter-final Saturday, great, 10 p.m. against Norway. Everybody I know is going, we're going to beat the Norwegians. Is that the right attitude? Probably not.
I'd say it is. I think that the confidence is completely justified now after that win against Mexico. That has clearly fueled belief. They've had a couple of really good performances at this World Cup. They're warming up quite nicely. They've won games in different ways. The squad depth is, as everyone can see, there's a hell of a lot of quality there. And they've got two world-class players who have really been carrying them so far. But the Mexico performance in particular, it wasn't a tactical masterclass by any stretch of the imagination. But there was a hell of a lot of grit involved. There was a bit of Terry Butcher spirit in there. And England are going to need that from time to time. But with Norway, it's a different entity. As you saw against Brazil, they rode their luck a fair few times. But Brazil didn't reckon on the best goal scorer on the planet in Haaland. You just can't give him a sniff.
Do we beat Norway?
I think they will, yeah. I certainly, since that first game, I've a lot more confidence in England to end the 66 curse, if you like. But
wow!
There are, of course, really, in the other side of the draw, I'd still say that the French and the Spanish, they are the two best squads, and they're still going pretty strong.
Good man, Samuel. It's always quick, but we love having you on. Correspondent for The Sun. Everything you need to know about the World Cup on The Sun, of course, at our sister station, talkSPORT. It's almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Breakfast continues with the deputy editor of Spectator, Freddie Gray, next.
get to the calls now. And Kevin is in Basingstoke. Morning, Kevin. Hey. Kevin, what do you think of this cycling conversation?
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to...
disagree with me.
Yeah. I mean, there's far more accidents caused by cars than bikes.
Yeah, we're not talking about cars, Kevin. We're talking about bikes.
I'm never talking about bikes, but if we encourage more bikes, then there'll be less accidents. More people...
yeah, more people on bikes who are not being controlled by anything.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on Talk, the home of common sense and the home, I can't do that, the home of the alarm clock Brit. What are you waking up to on my birthday? Well, the news in the Daily Mail that you peak between 55 to 60 in terms of your brain capacity, which means I'm headily steadying... Pardon? I can't even speak. I'm steadily heading downhill. Anyway, it's all going wrong. I can't remember things all of a sudden, so they're taking the mickey. Welcome to the show. So much to cram into this hour. Fred D. Gray, deputy editor of The Spectator, also US editor, will be on the show. Isabel Oakeshott, our international editor, and the legend that is Kinsey Schofield. There's so much going on about, of course, Harry and Meghan. That story reverberates. He arrived last night. Nobody knows where he's staying. Does anybody care? She's apparently going to go to Northampton because it's much safer than going to London. The whole thing's psychodrama. Farage, you'd have heard that story. insisting he's done nothing wrong, as he's referred to the Parliamentary Standards Committee for the second time over his links to Posh George Cottrell. Many Reform people contacting this show and saying it doesn't matter to us, right? This is the only man who's consistently said for 25 years what we want to hear, and we will still vote Reform. Do you think that... What is your thought on that? Does it change how you see Reform and Nigel Farage? Kemi Badenoch overnight saying the Tories are very sorry for their record on immigration and that the situation is getting better because of policies they put in. Have you forgiven the Tories yet? Certainly she, in a poll, is doing a lot better. But in terms of nationally, the Tories brand, by many, still seems toxic. Times have got a great story today. 100,000 people a week get benefits. No, 100,000 people a year getting benefits for ADHD who don't have to look for work. They're getting nearly £200 a week. I've got a member of my family who's got ADHD, works every single day, for God's sake. What are you talking about? It's absolutely outrageous. Will the new incoming Prime Minister, after Coronation Chicken, is he going to be strong enough to deal with that welfare issue? Also, as a story, because it is a bit of fun, isn't it? It's all a bit miserable, the news. So earlier there was a story about Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, who did a podcast at home, and I think we might play this. And he was asked, now, if you have got young ears, maybe switch them around a bit or off or whatever, because he does use that word for sleeping with that's Australian. Shag. So bear that in mind. But this was him being asked about who would you date, marry or sleep with. Look at this.
Rapid fire questions. Now, every guest gets asked these. Shag, marry, date. Kylie Minogue, Nicole Kidman or Rhonda Birchmore?
I've just got married. I'm only 6 months in.
But if it goes up, let's just pretend.
Oh, Kylie, clearly.
You'd marry Kylie and shag her and date her?
All of the above.
All right, it's a triple.
She's terrific.
All right, that's fair.
All of the above, she's terrific. Now, listen, it's caused a political storm in Australia. Many people this morning saying, come on, it's just a bit of fun. But you can't say those things anymore, can you? Because somebody will get you cancelled. I don't know why I'm going to allow this, but Christian wants it to be done. Morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Jezza. Happy birthday, my friend. Beautiful voice for the radio. Not too sure about the TV side of things, but, you know, we have to deal with what God gave us. Quick question, me old man. So, shag, marry, avoid. Let me sort of drop you in it a little bit, as us guys like to do to each other now and then. Ex-wife, current wife. Answer if you dare.
Sorry, did he say date, marry or sleep with? Void? What does void... Oh, avoid. Oh, absolutely. Avoid the first two and all three for the last one. Absolutely nailed on. Wait, I've got no... I thought he said something else. Slightly cooler now, although the studio's boiling hot. Morning, birthday boy. Starmer was just a useful idiot. After Corbyn and all the anti-Semitism, Burnham is just the next useful idiot. They have lost the red wall. Has anyone been round, says Reg Gardner, to Andy Burnham's parents' house yet, just to make sure he hasn't got a motorhome on their drive? There is a story going around about some contract in Manchester about his wife. Have you heard this story? It's quite interesting, and we might talk about that tomorrow. Clive in Plymouth. Good morning, Jeremy, and happy birthday. If Reform do manage to get into government, will they be ready for the backlash from the left? Maggie did it, but I believe it could be even worse for them. Kevin Wyatt says, is it just the media that's fussed about where Harry's staying? No. Do you know what? It's extraordinary. It's one of those stories that just resonates with so many people. And I just go back to it. Why would you want to stay in Buckingham Palace when you've told everybody and anybody that the British monarchy is racist? Hello to Chris in the southwest. That's quite wide-ranging. I'm not going to be cruel or mean. I would just like to wish you a very happy 61st birthday. I just wanted one thing from you. Could I have the number of your surgeon? Happy birthday. I've never had any work done. Yes, I have. Happy birthday, Jess. So Badenoch is sorry for the immigration. So why is the cabinet still full of Remainers, says Tony in Cheam. Good morning to Linda in Deal. Morning, Jez. I'm sick of this witch hunter Farage. She's done so much for this country, including stopping the cancellation of local elections. Labour have a huge majority and think they can get away with anything. Hello to Liz in Southampton. Happy birthday. You look great. You're as old as the person you feel. There you go. Happy birthday, JK. Have a great day. Don't forget mine on the 31st. Mike in Nottingham, and hello to Tom, and also Steve Mitch. Loads of you messaging. Thank you very much indeed. Trev from Milton Keynes. Why are they moaning at the Austrian Prime Minister, saying that he's sexist git? Surely the blame should be pointed at the radio show or the presenter that asked the questions, all blown out of proportion. Jeff Brewer says, morning, guys. Thank God it wasn't Boris asked to date, marry or sleep with questions. Can you imagine the answers? He'd have had a last time working it out, but to be honest, apparently, legend. 0344 499 1000. Let's do as we said we do. Deputy editor of The Spectator, US editor of The Spectator, but a man who didn't invite me to their party last week. Freddie Gray, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Happy birthday.
Not invited last week. How did that happen?
Oh, I thought you were saying I'm not invited to your birthday party.
No, but you and Gove didn't send me an invite. Disgraceful.
I don't do the invite list, I'm afraid. I'm not powerful enough.
Well, have a word, Freddie. Have a word, son, in the future.
Well, next year we'll make amends.
You're a lovely man. Thank you for joining us. How are you? How are things?
Very well, very well. Yes, I've been enjoying the World Cup quite a lot. Very much enjoyed Donald Trump's intervention yesterday.
Well, you have such great experience about America. There are all sorts of people jumping up and down. Jurgen Klopp, the people calling for Infantino to be sacked. We know that Trump and Infantino have some sort of relationship. But just for people who don't know the story, the star American striker called he was suspended for one match, i.e. last night's match, because of a red card. Donald Trump took it upon himself to phone the president of FIFA and go, I don't know nothing about football, but I think this is outrageous. Whereupon Infantino found some obscure rule and let the player play. Now, the postscript to this is they got absolutely battered. So, unfortunately, it's had nothing but detriment caused nothing but detriment to the US team. Do you mind if I play this? Because this is just brilliant. This is Donald Trump explaining to the media why he got involved. It's brilliant. Have a watch.
I understand sports really well. And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was two guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other. You can't take your foot and properly place it on somebody else's foot when you're going, no, these were two great athletes that got tangled up, and this referee, who is a little bit suspect, if you check his past, I don't want to say that because I don't like to create controversy, but very suspect. He's our best player or one of our best players, a very vital player, and he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. I said, boy, that's a big, if it happened to another player, it would have been unfair. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA.
Freddie, for me, the highlight of that is the bloke with the beard over his right shoulder who can barely stop laughing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Trump. It's morally outrageous and it's hilarious at exactly the same time.
It's true.
And I mean, I do think sort of a lot of British commentators getting very, very kind of uppity, angry about this yesterday. Of course, it sort of backfired because it seemed like the American team had so much sort of rigmarole yesterday that they actually played quite badly as a result. But imagine a World Cup on home soil and Harry Kane gets a red card for something that they didn't really deserve a red card for, which I don't think Balogun deserved a red card for that tackle. Let's say the Prime Minister then puts pressure on FIFA to rescind the red card and it's withdrawn. I'm not sure English fans would be full of moral outrage. I think that Prime Minister would probably see his poll approval ratings improve quite dramatically.
But hold on a minute, Let's just get... Can you imagine? Hello, Infantino. Here. Could you please... No, shut off. Oh, OK, then. It's not got the same sort of punch as Trump. But no, absolutely love what you said. Complete moral outrage / completely hysterical. I love the fact, the story this morning, that the FA are now considering their own red card World Cup appeal to overturn Concer's ban after Donald Trump got involved. Did you watch the match the other night? Did you stay up for it?
No, do you know what? I didn't, shamefully. And I'll tell you why. I saw a tweet from Piers Morgan saying anybody who doesn't stay up for this match cannot call themselves a true England fan. So I thought, I don't like that kind of peer pressure.
No. Peer pressure? Did you see what he did there? Peer pressure, we call it. I love it. Let's talk about, because, yes, you cover the US. Also, obviously, The Spectator, such a great thing. Farage, what's your take on this? Listen, I've had Tory MPs on and Labour MPs saying, you know, if there isn't a problem, declare it. I have known Nigel a long time, as I'm sure you have. That Sky interview when he climbed off the plane, I've never seen him like that. There's something more to this. There's something that's happened that's made him angry. I thought it was fascinating what Lord Daniel Hannan said just now. He said Nigel Farage will want there to be a recall by-election in Clacton because he'll come out and he'll probably get a bigger majority, and the millions of people in this country who believe in reform will simply, a bit like Trump, be galvanised, re-galvanised, even if they needed it. What's your thoughts on this, pal?
Well, yeah, I mean, I hate to always bring it back to Trump, but everything is always brought back to Trump at some stage in the news. I think that Trump yesterday posted a Truth Social saying they're running the 2024 playbook on Nigel Farage, suggesting there is an establishment stitch-up against Farage to try and kind of undermine him, bring him down through lawfare, through whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually think this could be a galvanising moment for reform. Yes, Farage himself seems to be responding quite badly to all these allegations and accusations. Yes, the relationship with George Cottrell, this shady gambling guy who's been in jail in America, is ugly. Everybody who's been around reform knows that this is a potential problem for reform, has been all along. But I think, you know, reform has had a bad few months. Restore came along. They started to look a bit like an establishment party. I actually think in coming elections, coming by-elections, we might see some sort of bounce effect for Farage around this, because it does feel a bit like an establishment stitch-up. Yes, it is dodgy. Yes, parliamentary standards are going to get involved and they may try and push Nigel Farage out. But I think that will have a polarising effect on him because, you know, this story is rather interesting, the Cottrell stuff. About a year ago, a Substack account, which is sort of online media account, popped up and had all of this stuff, all the stuff that came out in the Times yesterday, pretty much all of it. And it just appeared, was extremely well researched, a level of research that suggests, you know, a kind of some sort of investigator, an experienced investigator. And then it just vanished a few days later, apparently under legal threats from Cottrell. And it's now by a guy, he's called Mr. Finance Guy, I think you call him on Twitter. Nobody knows who it is. And yet he seems to have an awful lot of information, extremely well researched. Quite how he got it, I'm not sure. And so that story just vanishes and then it reappears now. Why does it reappear now when Farage is clearly having trouble with the Harborne story, the 5 million donation? It's clearly an attempt by certain people who have power and influence in this country to go, Farage is in trouble, let's get him now.
And
I think
the naivety, I don't disagree with naive. I've tried to be as balanced as possible and I will continue to do that. The naivety of that is what I said at the beginning. You want to be very, very careful to ignore, I think, the wishes of millions of people. If the establishment cannot, will never accept a party like Reform, who, yes, probably will do, make mistakes, all that sort of stuff. And you try, I mean, it's really interesting. I didn't know that. So he said on Truth Social, did he? He actually said on Truth Social, Trump, they're doing it out of the 2020 playbook. I mean, that's fascinating.
He said they're running the 2024 playbook against Farage. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Does he survive this, do you think? Do you think there's I mean, a lot of people are saying that seeing his reaction to those Sky cameras was very new. They couldn't believe that. But I've known him a long time. I wouldn't underestimate him.
I think he probably survived it. I think he does seem to be a bit out of sorts. There are some lingering questions as to whether he really wants to be Prime Minister. That's a lot of people say that. I think he probably survives it. I think the difference with him and Trump is that while Trump has always had, you know, shady things in his past and so on, everyone always knew that he was a rich man himself. I think the problem with Farage, perhaps, is that he has been propped up by rich people, and I think that is a slightly different dynamic.
Couldn't agree more. Just very quickly before I let you go, Kemi Badenoch overnight saying that the Tories are very sorry for their record in immigration, but insist the numbers are coming down because of their policies. We have Matt Vickers, we have the Tory round on every single day, quite rightly. Kemi Badenoch is really gaining traction and getting through. But the brand of conservatism still toxic in terms of looking at national polls. Do you see, with the hassle that Farage and Reform are getting, do you see the Tories making giant strides, or do you think it's more about Badenoch?
Well, my great fear is that the right splits itself perfectly again between Tories and Reform, and Labour, even though they're desperately unpopular, somehow end up winning the next general election. I think Kemi's personal stock has increased, definitely. She has performed a lot better. She's done better than I expected, I'll admit that, in recent weeks. But I still think if you look at kind of voting intention, the Tories are below, I think, where they were a year ago, if you look at YouGov's voting intention poll. So you can't really have this situation where everybody says the personal leader, oh, she's great, she's doing well, but that has nothing to do with their perception of the party that they'd be voting for. The Tories are a toxic brand. It's going to take a long time for them to turn it around. And immigration is the key issue on which they are weakest in many ways. Immigration and the fact, you know, people normally vote for the Tories for a healthy economy. They might not like the Tories, but they accept that Tories are good at managing the economy. The Tories were not good at managing the economy, and the Tories created a sort of sense of chaos that's meant to be the thing they are not going to do. I'm not sure the public trust them yet. I think it's going to take a long time.
And I agree with that. And just finally, I was saying earlier, I didn't want to put this to you, Burnham's an interesting one for me because I've been really resolute. Don't think you should be able to change as an MP unless you stand in a by-election. I don't care what anybody says to my face. I don't think you should become Prime Minister without a general election. But the Tories did it 3 times. And actually, Burnham is going to be coronated. You might use this in The Spectator. I call him Coronation Chicken. Here's the thing. If you go to any constituency, north, south, east and west, I said it earlier, I suspect there are 3 or 4 things that people would talk about. Illegal immigration stopping the boats, how net zero's destroyed energy prices, well, it's gone through the roof, which has affected businesses and homes, so start drilling, because it's a natural resource, you idiots. Cut the benefits bill, not because of those that need it. They're missing out as well. People are gaming the system. And do you know what? You're all guilty of not calling a genuinely really intense national inquiry into the grooming/rape gang crisis. Andy Burnham, politically, OK, at this moment will have 400 Labour MPs in his hand. They can't get rid of him. They called him from outside. They see him as some sort of Boris saviour. I thought he could win an election that he calls early by doing one of those 4 things. I don't think he will do one of those 4 things in any which way. I think he'll just raise taxes. What are your thoughts?
Well, the only one he's actually talked about of those ones you just mentioned is energy, and he's been very vague about it. He suggested nationalising energy, but there doesn't seem to be a clear plan to do that. It'd be a pretty bold thing to do. And would that bring down prices? I don't know. It would be a complicated process. So I think the problem with Andy Burnham is he's doing the odd interview, throwing out kind of very specific policies, you know, bringing down business rates for pubs, which could be great, but also, you know, increasing them for warehouses on the outside of town, which is, you know, an interesting question as to whether that will be effective or not. But that is not a huge policy that's going to change this country, which is what everyone's crying out for. So, no, I think everybody said the problem with Keir Starmer was that, you know, he failed to plan. He failed to plan for government. We're about to have a Prime Minister who quite visibly is failing to plan for government because he doesn't seem to have a vision. And if he does have a vision, it's a very, very left-wing one that means raising taxes even more, increasing capital gains, which might make some people feel better because they'll think it's attacking people who have lots of capital and are just rich. But actually, it will be disastrous for the economy. Every single independent analysis suggests that increasing capital gains will depress the British economy further. We have an economy that doesn't work. Everybody seems to know it. Nobody seems to be willing or able to fix it.
Couldn't agree more. Listen, for my birthday, do I get a guaranteed invite next year to the Spectator party?
Absolutely. I'll break. What am I saying? I'll move mountains to make it happen.
Well, tell Gove, I expect nothing less. Fred, listen, great, Freddie, to have you on. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. Freddie Gray, deputy editor of The Spectator. Still to come this out. Kinsey Schofield, not in LA, in my studio. Come here for my birthday. Isabel Oakeshott as well. Morning, Caroline.
Jeremy, Caroline from London. I've been thinking about this benefit bill situation and all the millions that are on it. Why is this happening? Why are the government doing this? And I've come to the conclusion, the only conclusion, they want as many people on universal credit and PIPs and God knows what else. So at some point, they're going to want to control a huge part of the population and bring in a universal salary so they can control us. There's no other reason. There's something very sinister going on.
Get to the calls now, and Kevin is in Basingstoke. Morning, Kevin. Kevin, what do you think of this cycling conversation?
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to...
disagree with me.
Yeah. I mean, there's far more accidents caused by cars than bikes.
Yeah, we're not talking about cars, Kevin. We're talking about bikes.
I know we're talking about bikes, but if we encourage more bikes, then there'll be less accidents. More people...
Yeah, more people on bikes who are not being controlled by anything.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:27. We're live across the UK. JK on breakfast on the home of common sense and, of course, the home of Alarm Clock Britain. Jezza says, Carol, I live in Clacton and I couldn't give a damn how many properties or money Nigel Farage has or who his friends are. Some are trying anything to discredit him, but the thing I find absolutely disgusting is that Labour wouldn't give him the security he absolutely needs. I will continue to vote and I'm 100% reform every single day of the week. Paul's in Fife. I and many millions do not give a fig about the 5 million given to Nigel. He's done nothing illegal. He should have declared it, but that does not mean he should be punished. We Reform voters can see right through this move to discredit him. It only makes us stand firmer behind him. And there's the point. I didn't know it until just now from Freddie Gray. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social last night, the British establishment are doing the 2020 playbook that they did with me in America. Many people are saying, thanks, G-Spot, another cup of tea.
Happy birthday.
Lovely, good man. Christian hates that. But I have to say, there are now a lot of people saying, is this a stitch-up by the establishment? Love to know what you think. Are you a Reform voter who is galvanised by this, as Freddie Gray said, and you don't care, and this is an establishment stitch-up, or are you one of those people who have started to question your thoughts about reform? We say a very good morning to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hello, Isabel.
Good morning, Jezza. Is it your birthday?
It is. It is.
Is it your birthday?
It is. Why?
I mean, you haven't half gone on about it. I thought your birthday was 10 days ago. You started talking about this 10 days ago, but it's had a hell of a build-up. So what's your best presents then?
The thing is, at my age, you need a hell of a build-up to anything, if I'm honest. And this is all because they... Yeah, all right, don't you laugh as well. Do you know what I read in the paper today? Look at this. This is, I mean, devastating, Isabel. Who says you passed your peak? Brains are at their best aged 55 to 60, and from 60, it's all downhill. And I literally, this morning, I said to them at 20 to 7, can you do an ad break to the news, because I need to get to the loo and I need more than 4 minutes. No, you need about 4 minutes. And then I forgot to go to the loo. And 10 past 7, Mark went, you've forgotten. I went, see, it's happening already.
Yeah, I do fear for you. I do fear for you. Are you putting plans in place for your long-term care?
Hold on a second. Long-term care? What a... You're marrying a man who's a lot older than you.
Well, I might have put plans in place for his long-term care.
Like a pacemaker. Boom, he's gone. Fantastic. Isabel, good morning. Let's talk, Nigel, because really interesting. Had Sarah on this morning, spoken to the Tories, spoken to Labour. We've done the story. I just wanted to get your take because... developments overnight. Obviously, we had the one referral to the Standards Committee over Harborne. It looks like there has been another one about George Cottrell. I've never seen Nigel Farage, and you know I know him, known him a long time, when he got off that plane from America and he made the guy from Sky ask those questions. We have to point out Sky have not accepted, OK, not accepted his accusation that they've gone outside the bounds. I would simply say this for a man I know. I've never seen him look like that, which tells me something more has gone on that isn't very palatable. Any news?
I think he's just absolutely sick of being hounded all day, every day. And it's overwhelming. You know, if every time you go anywhere, you're mobbed by people demanding details of your private finances, and you fear that institutions of the state are crawling over more things. People might leak stuff. You know, we've had Dominic Cummings in the last 24 hours coming out and saying, you know, elements of the state will stop at nothing to stop Nigel Farage, including Dominic Cummings suggested leaking medical details, leaking bank records, leaking other sensitive private information that should have nothing to do with voters, nothing to do with anyone except Nigel and his family. And if I were Nigel, I would be very fearful of that too, not because he has something to hide, but just because it just hangs over you the whole time.
No, I understand. I understand that. But you know the way I have to do the job, and I'm with you. You know I am. But I just want to ask a couple of things. Sarah Pocham was here earlier, and she said, we knew this was going to come. Has the depth of it, because I'm, by the way, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think the timing's incredibly fishy. We're about to coronate this country a prime minister who hasn't got any mandate from the British people, who 20 days ago wasn't even an MP. We're about to coronate him without any sort of look at him and his anything about him. We don't know what he stands for. Is this an establishment kickback at Farage because the Labour Party are going to think there's a burn and bounce, let's discredit Farage and call an election? All sorts of people are starting to say these things because the timing looks slightly dodgy, but there's also people who are saying, what's going on here? I'm going to play you a voice note because I know that you, more than anybody, are there to answer this. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning, it's Sarah from Croydon. About Nigel, it worries me. It really worries me. And the one question I want to understand is, why didn't he declare it? It makes me wonder, was it just a really stupid mistake, which is ridiculous, or was it on purpose? And either way, I just don't think it's a good look. I'm a reform voter, I'm a supporter, and that won't change. And I have a lot of time for Nigel, a lot of respect for him. That won't change. But I'm just thinking it's not a good look. I have friends who are floating voters at the moment. They have no home. Used to be Conservative, but are not quite convinced by reform yet. And I just don't think this is going to help. And I just think it's exactly what people are looking for in order to criticise. And I just It just worries me that it was a really silly mistake that shouldn't have happened. And I'm worried if it will affect the party and what the outcome is, because they will be gunning for him. And I don't trust the parliamentary committee who's going to be looking into it. I don't trust people not to be biased, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to get a fair hearing. There's also a part of me that thinks it'll all blow over and those who support reform will continue to. Anyway, have a great birthday and have a good day, Jezza. Thank you.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think she rather encapsulates every part of the debate, Isabel.
So I don't think it will all blow over, much as I would like to think it would all blow over. There are far too many vested interests in keeping this going and going and going. So something's got to give. Now, what that is, I don't know, but I don't think anyone should have to go on being subjected to this level of continual abuse and haranguing from elements of the media. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that it's not illegitimate to ask questions of somebody who's auditioning to be Prime Minister. It's not illegitimate to ask about this 5 million. It is an enormous sum of money. It's more than any of us can imagine being just dolloped into our bank accounts. So it's perfectly reasonable for people to be intrigued about that. And I'm sure Nigel understands that. But this level of intrusion, the hounding of his family, the constant doorstepping, and also the involvement of state institutions, which I'm sure more will come out about in due course, this is off the dial. Now, why are they doing it now? Well, my thoughts on that are that there was always going to be an operation to destroy Nigel Farage's political career. That was always going to happen. I kind of expected it to be much nearer the election, but I feel that after the 5 million thing, I feel that those who cannot contemplate a reform government sense vulnerability, and they think this is the time to move in for the kill. And I think they may feel that if they leave it too late in the electoral cycle, Nigel and reform will be too entrenched and he will become impossible to remove, which is their agenda. Let's be clear about this. This is what this is all about. And I just want him to face it down. I want him to face it down with as much cheer and confidence as we all know that he has at his best. I think he's fed up, and I hope he gets fire in his belly for this fight, because that is what we're facing.
I don't mean to... this is a genuine comment. I didn't have the institutions, but I had a media firestorm for 6 months. I had 50 press outside my house shouting when I tried to take my kids to school, on ladders. I had wires through my back. It was awful, right? I went to the...
People going through the bins. Have you had that?
It was awful, but I think those... If it is a concerted effort, they see a weakness, they see a wounded animal, they need to be very careful. And I would say this to the press... Listen, with you... You put yourself out there. Somebody once said to me when I was moaning about what I was going through and seeing a doctor, they said, listen, give up your job, go back to a 9 to 5, give up all the big salary. That's what comes with it. We know. But we also need a level playing field. So, you know, we're about to coronate Andy Burnham, who has had no scrutiny at all.
Agreed.
And yet we're doing this to Nigel Farage. The society's doing it because presumably they fear much. There's 3 things I just want to point out. Last night on Truth Social, Donald Trump said this is out of the 2020 playbook. These people need to be very careful because there are millions of people that support reform and Nigel Farage in this country, and I'm telling you, there will be people who will be hardened and re-galvanised as a result of this. So they need to be very, very careful. I'm with you. I don't think the system is fair. I mean, that parliamentary committee has no reformers on it. It's got 5 people, Labour and Tories, and they will presumably stitch him. But I'm rather buoyed by what somebody said to me earlier, and it might have been, I don't know, I think it was Lord Daniel Hannan. It might be that Nigel Farage in the end just wants a by-election, actually, in Clacton. Because I can sit here and they can tell me I'm wrong. I think he'd increase his majority and it would further enhance millions of people's belief that he could do a job in taking the country forward. I don't know. But like you, when he's got his head straight, he needs to get on the front foot, because there are millions of people who relate to what he said. And let's just repeat what Poppy said yesterday. This isn't cash for questions. This is a man who's consistently said the same thing for 25 years, and he has shook up British politics, and that's the truth.
I think you made such an important point about the level playing field. You know, in recent days, it's come out that Labour donors received something like £130 million worth of government contracts under Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
I mean, that is truly shocking.
Are we forgetting how many Tories made millions out of COVID contracts as well?
Oh, I'm not forgetting that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an absolutely disgraceful racket. And here you've got one individual who is not head of the government yet. He's auditioning for it, but he's not head of our country yet. And, you know, he makes good money, but it's not public money that he's taking and sloshing around. It is money, as we all know now, from individuals who support him. As you said, as Poppy said yesterday, you know, it's not cash for questions. Nigel's been entirely consistent on what he stands for. And there are wealthy people who really believe in Britain and really believe that we have a better future and that this country is teetering on the edge, and they will do whatever it takes to try to propel Nigel into number 10, because they truly believe he is the only person, or at least Reform is the only party that can actually do that. And Reform supporters have got to get behind Nigel, behind the party, and we've got to get through this because the stakes are really high, folks. Do you want another 10 years of Labour? Do you see what the Tories did to our country in 14 years? How much more devastating will the damage be if we get another the rest of this term of the Labour Party and another 5 years beyond that? It's over. It's over for our country. So let's stop fooling around worrying about Nigel's private finances, and let those who want a right of centre solution for our country need to get full square behind the fight.
Isabel, thank you so much indeed. And just in case you weren't aware, it's my birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday, Jazzy. You do look so young for your age.
I can't move my face. Isabel Oakeshott, thank you very much indeed. Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, hello, welcome back. 17 minutes to 10. For some reason, this studio is roasting this morning, my goodness me. But we are delighted. Oh, sorry, Paul, good morning.
Hello, Jeremy.
This is Paul from Colchester. I'd always vote for Farage because he's a popular guy and he's got the right opinions for this country. And just a good test would be, wouldn't it, that how would Keir Starmer get on in the jungle with Ant and Dec? I bet he wouldn't do as well as Nigel did. Can you imagine Keir in the jungle? Oh, look at all them bugs.
Brilliant. Can I just say, Isabel, you know, is passionate. She's going to marry Richard Tice. She's a brilliant journalist. She was talking there about Farage and reform and voting for them. If you listen to this programme across today, we've had the Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, we've had Carl Turner, who will rejoin the Labour Party, we've had Sarah Pochin from Reform. All views. People will vote how they want to vote. I voted for the next lady to come into the studio because I love her, Kinsey Schofield.
Happy birthday, JK.
Just, you sound like Marilyn Monroe. Can you just go, happy birthday, Mr. President?
Happy birthday, Mr. President. I did bring you some Trump socks for your birthday.
Look at these. Have you seen these
With
socks?
a comb so you can comb out his hair.
You've got to put these on camera. Can you hold it up? These are Donald Trump socks, right?
Yes.
Down a bit, to your left a bit. Thank you. And they've got hair. So I put those on, Donald Trump socks, and that's brilliant. Little comb. That's
Little
brilliant.
comb. Happy birthday.
That's so sweet of you, my darling.
You're
Look at that. Something hairy between my legs.
You guys.
No, it's wide. Christian's just... Honestly, you are so smutty, you lot. You have a disgusting... Yeah, thank you very much, Dee. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
She said to me, you look well. I said, you look well. I said, I had Botox yesterday. She said, you have work? I said, yes, fake teeth. Do you not know the story? This is absolutely true. They took the Jeremy Carr show to America.
Uh-huh.
I was quite... You know, I mean, I've been doing it 5 years, and they take me to this massive house that they've given me on 58th, Jane, and then down at the bottom, Jane, in Manhattan, families, nanny, and then they take me to the studios, and I get out of this Escalade on 58th, and there's like a 100-foot poster of my face, and there's about 100 people, and it's the Jeremy Carr show, and it's like, oh, my God. And I walked into this meeting. 2 massive security guards who do things like this. They go, he's moving, he's moving, he's moving. Literally unbelievable, America. And we got into a meeting, and this bloke came and he said, I'm the production. Oh my God! And I said, sorry. He said, oh my God, no, I can't work with this. Oh my, look at his face and his teeth. Oh my God, no. I said, sorry, you're working for me. He said, you need, darling, you need some work. This can't work. HD. Oh, my God. So from that moment, my face has been frozen. I had all my teeth removed, and they're as fake as well. So I'm basically fake as anything. So
and you had more security than Prince Harry. Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-bum! How do we get there? Yeah, I was happy. Prince Harry is causing you sleepless nights, isn't he, Kinsey Schofield?
He's keeping me pretty busy since I arrived. I knew last week that we would have the verdict in his trial against Associated Press.
Newspapers, yeah.
So that's, Associated Newspapers. That happens today at 2 p.m. But, you know, he has been playing the will they, won't they game, which we've discussed over the last 2 or 3 weeks now, whether he would bring Meghan and the children. So far, it's just Harry in London. However, he is still leaking to his favorite media entities that he is still considering Meghan coming, maybe appearing on Friday at his Invictus event, and bringing the children over to take them straight to Althorpe to see his mother's grave.
So for people who don't know, and for people who are so, you know, switched off they don't even care, this story, right, yesterday on air, we announced breaking news that he was going to stay at Buckingham Palace, and 20 minutes later we announced breaking news that he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
The story goes that there had been private connections between him and the King. He wanted to come and introduce his grandfather, Meghan Markle, the kids as well, and that his father had extended an invitation to stay in one of the royal residences.
Which is true. His father had extended this invitation.
There was a deadline, ladies and gentlemen, because you can't just go, well, I'm going to go and stay at Buckingham Palace to security and cleaning and all that sort of thing. Bits are open to the public.
It's not a Holiday Inn.
No, it's not a Holiday Inn. There's no fruit machine in reception. Been there a couple of times myself. And seriously, there's no carpet on the ceiling. And so, which there are in some receptions and some hotels. But there was this ridiculous scenario where the palace were accused of, oh, you're not staying there now. But the truth is he never responded.
Well, the truth is he responded with a rejection on Saturday, and they said, great, we're taking that information back to the team. He came back later on Saturday and said, I've changed my mind. I just want to come for one night. And they said, you missed the deadline. And we were planning, we had a team, we were putting a team together for a family of 4, plus some, whoever else they wanted to bring. And now we're not going to readjust at the last minute for one night for one person.
But didn't his team brief that he was going when he knew he wasn't?
Yes, it's my understanding.
Why would anybody in the royal family trust these two or that lot to not release? I mean, it's so toxic. And why would Harry, who apparently wants to be reunited with his father who's ill, in brackets, I think, sort out his inheritance, close brackets, put in place stuff that's caused... I mean, the British public have had it with them, big time.
And if I'm Invictus, I'm livid, because he's supposed to be coming over here to promote 1 year to Invictus, the big Birmingham Games next year. Is this all a ploy to make his father look bad, to manipulate his father to feel obligated to show up next year united with Harry at the Games, which I've heard forever is Harry's ultimate objective, to get that, you know, royal seal of approval by having members of his family at the Games? You know, is he trying to manipulate the family into feeling guilty or looking bad? I think I told you from day one, I felt like this was a setup to continue to villainize his father. And that's what yesterday felt like especially.
Is he deaf to what people think, seriously? Is he... Do he and his wife not understand that the shenanigans and the psychodrama, as you quite rightly said the other day, that your average Briton, whether they're pro-royal or not, just see them as entitled, arrogant, pain in the backside? Sorry, I'm being honest, because if you wanted to mend your relationship with your father, who's got cancer, you do it privately. Everything they do is through the media to get clickbait, because their star has not just faded, it's been extinguished.
Or to try to force their way, you know, by... that is one of the suggestions yesterday. Did Harry come out, despite knowing that it wasn't an option for him, and say, I'm staying in Buckingham Palace, so that the king would go, well, I guess we've got to give him a room? You know, I don't know what his motives are, but he's never been the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree.
The other thing is, as well, and I said it this morning, and I make no apology for this, this is an institution that they purport to hate, that is racist and uncaring and, what was it, all the things that they said. And yet you want to come and stay in one of the buildings that's probably the main symbol of the institution you find abhorrent.
Well, and to your earlier point about how you can do things privately, Taylor Swift just had a wedding at Madison Square Garden.
How was it? Did you not get an invite?
I didn't get an invite, but, you know, if she is capable of keeping that a secret, if Harry Styles can jog to his shows, his sold-out shows at Wembley, and, you know, Prince Harry can meet his father privately, and Prince Harry can navigate around the City of London without being bothered. If Harry Styles can navigate around the City of London without being bothered, Prince Harry can.
Well, let's be honest, nobody knows where he's staying. Do you know where he's staying?
I probably shouldn't say.
OK, no, don't say at all. I don't want to be responsible. What I'm saying is it's possible to keep it private.
Yeah, it is. I think it is.
Anybody with a brain cell, right, even Mark, is going to go, just a joke, it's just the way you were looking, is going to go, right, mate, you're making this all about you, and we all know why. It's not caring about your dad.
Do we all know why? Are we dealing with mental health issues at this point?
Oh, see, this is where I get into trouble. No, you're just a spoilt, entitled brat. Do you want me to be honest? And I get... an older woman has absolutely waved her magic wand and whipped you into line. We've used that word before. And yet that you both have massive chips on your shoulder, whether it's because you're the spare or this, that and the other. You've done nothing valuable with your life since you met her or you did that. And your kids are drawn into it. There's no consistency to what they're trying to do or achieve. They become meaningless. And I am buoyed, and I make no apology for this, by Camilla and William, who have been very, very strong in their resolve to say to Charles, this is going to end in tears. I think this might be the final turn for the king, who'll just go, I'm not having this drama in my life anymore, I don't need it.
I believe you're right, because yesterday was a huge sign of strength in saying, nope, he's not. So, never complain, never explain until yesterday. Yesterday, they put their foot down and said, absolutely not, he's not staying here. Also, imagine if, whether the verdict comes down in his favor or not in his favor today, the visual of him standing in front of Buckingham Palace and making a speech or making a statement regarding that lawsuit would have been such a poor look for the king.
And that is probably a reason that has happened, that he said no. And you're right, front page of the Sun today, King snaps back at Harry. And I think there comes a point, does there not, where we all just have had enough, or there's no way back. I don't know whether they don't have advisors or they're just plain silly or stupid, but I would love to say to both of them, do you understand what the British public think?
Well,
I don't think they do.
They're going to find out. I mean, I think that if Harry does have any engagements where there is a crowd, that he will be startled by the negative response he gets.
And also, very quickly, in a couple of minutes, apparently she might come.
She might come
to go to Diana's grave. So it's safer in Northampton and Birmingham than it is in London, yeah?
Well, and don't forget that Diana died the last summer she was on this earth because her brother told her, I can't protect you here at Althorpe. She wanted to stay at Althorpe, remember? And her brother said that that's not safe enough for you and your family here. Yet that's where Harry is considering his family's sanctuary. That doesn't make sense to me, but we might see her on Friday at the Invictus event, yeah.
You like Meghan? You're going to go and talk to her, yeah?
I would rather die in a fire.
Right, obviously, don't quite know what to say to that. I will say this. Both of them have brought this on themselves, I think, by the way they've behaved. And I think what you just said about negativity, I think is absolutely right. And maybe it will take a public appearance and the British public to voice, I guess, or make known their feelings that will be the answer to all of this, because they don't seem to get the message, babe, do they?
Well, if the British public doesn't, I can tell you that there's leadership in Invictus that do plan on having a very serious conversation about the distraction that's been created over the last few weeks and how it's negatively affected the veterans and the cause.
And interesting, isn't it? Yet another charitable cause that he might be thrown out of, which says an awful lot about him as an individual. Kins, thank you for the socks. If you're just tuning in, Donald Trump socks with hair, with a little comb to brush his hair. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Lovely. And I'm doing your show tomorrow, aren't I? I'm very excited.
I can't wait to see you again.
That's very good. We love you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Kinsey Schofield live across the UK. Check out, what's it called?
Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered.
Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Have you got lots of subscribers?
I do.
I've got 4. Back in 3. Bye.
The thing that most makes me angry about Keir Starmer, talking about the need to defend our country, and he's gone out of his way to not make the tough decisions, to actually do the thing to defend our nation. It's cowardly, and I think it's treacherous.
Nothing to say on immigration, nothing to say on benefits, nothing to say on jobs, nothing to say on tax. Absolutely appalling. If this is the solution the country's been waiting for, then we are in a very, very bad place.
People up and down the country are asking why they are always being put second. They work every day, they get up, they pay their bills, they look after their kids, and yet the other side of the social contract is not being held up.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Couple of minutes to 10, and we say a very good morning to Julia Hartley-Brewer.
And a very happy birthday to you, good sir. 21 again.
61, mate.
You look darn good for it, sir.
Can't move my face, teeth are fake, everything. I don't care. I'm not shallow. Did you see my socks from Kinsey? These are Donald Trump socks with real hair.
Everyone. Oh, not his actual real hair.
Well, I know.
He hasn't got much to spare. Those are, I mean, brilliant and yet horrible at the same time.
It's the only time I've had hair on my legs.
I have some Hillary Clinton nutcrackers. So there we...
I don't know what to say.
No, but there we are. I literally have some...
Can I say, though, I've never known a more relevant gift for a lady. Julia Nutcracker
It was a wedding
Hartley.
gift.
It's brilliant.
A wedding gift, but anyway.
What you got?
We're going to be talking, obviously, that 100,000 getting benefits for ADHD. Sorry, for claiming they've got ADHD. We did wonder about putting a question out for the audience.